if you want to think about bodybuilding, it's not getting on stage that's the hard part. It's reversing back off of that. People think like success just means money. And like for me, it doesn't. Because people ask me all the time, like, how do you have work-life balance? And I'm like, I don't. Find your passion, find what you love to do, and find somebody to pay you to do it.
So Alexa Miller, welcome.
What's up?
Welcome to Building Legacy.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. So Alexa, for people that don't know you, you own Anytime Fitness here in Lima.
Yes.
Also own Diet Doc.
Yes, I'm co-owner of Diet Doc with my business partner Meredith, who's in North Carolina.
Oh, I didn't know that she was remote.
Yeah, so we actually have 2 locations. We have one in North Carolina and one in Lima.
So how did you link up with her then?
So she was actually in Lima. My bestie, she has a hippie soul. She's lived all over Key West, like Australia.
Oh, wow.
So I knew I didn't have her for very long. So she was actually a manager at the club. And she ended up moving to North Carolina.
Which club? Like she was the manager at
Anytime? Yeah.
Oh,
in
really?
Lima.
Oh.
So her and I started the Diet Doc in Lima, knowing that she was going to eventually leave me, but we had bigger plans to expand. So she actually manages an Anytime Fitness in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Oh.
And we have our second nutrition location there. So we have a Diet Doc territory in North Carolina and in Lima, which we work with clients all over. So it doesn't really matter, but we at least have those 2 territories. So.
Yeah, because Diet Doc, you can kind of take on a client from wherever they're at, right?
Wherever.
Like it doesn't matter.
We have them from all over.
Yeah, I'm recently a client.
Yeah.
I'm slacking on my tracking a little bit.
Well, hopefully after today, you learn a few things.
Yeah. No, and Brad just told me today at PT, he was like, I can tell that you've lost a little bit already.
Yeah.
So that made me feel good and made me want to track some more. So.
Well, we're going to meet after this.
Yeah.
And hash a few
I'm
things out.
getting a stern talking to probably. No, but yeah, I'm curious because I didn't like Diet Doc. I've seen the advertising and stuff when I was at the gym, but I didn't really know exactly what all it was and stuff. And like, so are those 2 married together? Like Anytime Fitness and Diet Doc are like go hand in hand, or?
I mean, they definitely go hand in hand, right? Because so what happened was I saw like this huge like gap that was missing from the gym world, right? Like people come there, they get a workout in, they go home.
Yep.
And so I think it was a couple years ago, I brought on Dan from Lima's Finest Food.
Yeah.
To help with the meals. I ended up, kind of revamping his menu with him, with his help, and, creating these healthier options for people, and then providing like the caloric breakdown and the macronutrient breakdown for all these meals. So that was kind of one step. And then the second step was like, not only do these people like need to know what they're eating, but like they need a coach to show them how to eat.
Yeah.
And to hold them accountable and everything else. So I just saw this like huge gap that was missing from the fitness world of like, okay, people can work out, and honestly, like, an hour workout, like that's the easiest part of your day. Yeah. It's the other 23 hours that's the hard part.
Brad just said that to me today. He's like, this is the easy part. I was like, yeah, you're not lying.
The nutrition's the tough part. So I have actually worked with Diet Doc for many, many years. I'm sure we'll get into this later, but I used to do some bodybuilding back in the day.
I see.
And back in the day, like I'm so old. I am old. I'm 34, I'm old.
Hey.
And I worked with Diet Doc and they were fantastic. And so I'd kind of been with them throughout the years. And then when I bought the club, over 4 years ago, I was like, we got to get this here. So brought the nutrition on, and it marries very well with Anytime Fitness because it very much fits our culture. It's about coaching. It's about connecting with your clients. It's not about
it's a lifestyle.
Being perfect.
Yeah.
It's not about like this perfect macro plan or like you can't have beer or you can't go and do these certain things, right? Like it just marries very well because it's like, hey, how do we just get you to a healthier place, whatever that looks like for you? Because
that's sustainable too. Because that was like my problem is I go on these all or nothings like we talked about to where it's like I'm eating no carbs, like I'm cutting 50 pounds at a time.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, it doesn't. Like it's just such a roller coaster because then I feel like I hit the goal and then it's like, okay, now what? Because I can't do this forever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so the nutrition and the gym, like the Diet Doc with Anytime, it's like we just speak the same language. Right. And I wanted to be that like one-stop shop. Like people come to me knowing that they can get help on the fitness end, on the food end. We physically have food there for you to buy, or to coach you on like how to reach your goals nutritionally too.
So Anytime, you just said you got 4 years ago then?
Yeah, December 2018.
Because I remember like there was a point when I was going there and it was Lyle and Chad.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then I didn't really even notice the transition. Like must have been pretty smooth.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that was our plan.
Yeah. It must have been seamless because I didn't notice anything, like no huge, like change in anything. So how did that kind of happen? Like, were you just a member there? Were you already in fitness?
Yeah. So I started out in the bodybuilding world, and this is just one of my favorite stories to tell because I was obviously, I was training for a bodybuilding show and I was working out like stupid times a day, like probably like 4 times a day. I don't know.
Oh,
I was at the
Jesus.
gym all day. It was back
Right.
when it was in Clock Tower Plaza. And I remember
Oh, I
Lyle,
remember that. Yeah,
Lyle
yeah.
was like, hey, like, since you're here all the time, like, do you want to just start training here? I was there all the time. And I was like, sure, why not? At that time I was
Training
working,
as far as like a personal trainer?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. And honestly, I would just like, people would say, hey, like, can I come work out with you? And I'm like, sure, I'm doing my workouts if you want to come join me. But I'd go there 3-4 times a day and
Right.
take them with me. And I'd, essentially start training them. So I was like, hey, do you want to like get paid to do this? I'm like, sure. At the time I was working at University of Northwestern Ohio. I was coaching the women's basketball team there and working in the athletic department. And
Because you played too, right?
I did.
I want to touch on that a little bit too here.
We can go. How far back are we gonna throw it? But anyway, so I was just working out a lot, and he asked me to come on board as a trainer. So I started training. It was kind of a crazy like 6 months. I would like train in the morning from like 5 to 9. Then I'd go work my 9 to 5 job, and then I'd coach basketball, and then I would go back at night and train, and then I'd get home at like 10 o'clock. So for like 6 months, I did both jobs, and then I was like, I think I really like this. Like, I think this is what I want to do. I just like obviously have a passion for it.
Right.
And so Lyle had asked me if I wanted to come on and be the personal training manager.
And how old were you at this time?
Oh gosh, this was like I don't even remember. Like, this was 9 years ago, I think.
It's like 25-ish?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and this is before, no, it had to be before then because it was before kids. And he just said, hey, do you want to come on board and like work? And I'm like, whoa, I don't know. Like, I'm at this really comfortable job. And, sometimes you're young, you just get stuck into that like comfort zone.
100%.
And I remember being like, man, I just really think this is what I want to do. I talked to my husband about it, talked to some other people about it. And I kind of just made that plunge and went for it. The craziest story, though, the craziest part about this story is the night before Lyle asked me in his office and kind of like gave me this position. I was like online researching like Anytime Fitnesses, like how to open an Anytime Fitness, like what amount of money do you need to open an Anytime Fitness? Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can. This is crazy. Like, I want to do this, but I'm young. I don't have that much money. Like, this is crazy.
Yep.
But that's how interested I was. I wanted to I fell in love with it. Like, this is what I want to do. And that next day, he literally called me in my office. I was like, I took that as a sign, like, okay. And honestly, like, I can't even explain to you, like, I worked for him and he was the best boss ever.
I've always heard really good stuff.
He's amazing.
About him.
I just talked to him today. Like, he's seriously like a third dad to me. But I worked for him for over 4 years. And that was the best thing I could have possibly done. Like, I can't imagine like rewinding that story and just me like going out on
jumping
my own.
Into it blind.
Yeah, like let me open Anytime Fitness. Oh my God, I would have fell flat on my face.
Yeah.
Like, I can't reiterate enough, like working for him for 4 years, like seeing the good, the bad, the ugly, like everything, like learning, like there was a lot of things I just didn't know.
Right.
And I learned everything. I soaked him up, like literally let me learn every part of this business. And then when we had met, he basically was like, hey, this is not what I'm going to do forever. I'm getting old. I want to retire. So we kind of came up with this like 4 to 5 year plan of me working underneath of him and then eventually taking it over. So going back to what you were saying, it was seamless. I hope so.
Yeah,
that was our plan.
No, that makes sense.
Was our plan.
I mean, especially if like you had the chance to mentor from him.
Yes.
Like, and that's a huge piece that so many like entrepreneurs or people that even are thinking about like starting their own business and stuff. That's a big piece that they're missing is they don't have that person to either like show them the way, and they definitely don't usually have the person that's like, here, grab my hand. I'm literally going to walk you through like this is exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then put your own spin on it and figure it out.
Yeah. And
so
like even
awesome.
when I bought the club from him, like, you still have doubts about yourself. You're like, I don't know, can I do this? Can I not? Like it was crazy to me that he was like, he never had like any doubts, like zero doubts. He's like, you were 110% sure. Like, I know you can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you so confident in myself? I'm not even that much confident in myself, like, but yeah, he was an amazing boss. I literally soaked him up. Like I asked him every question. I didn't care if it was stupid. Like I'm just that kind of person. Like, I don't care. I'll be the dumb one in the room that's asking a million questions because I'm going to get the answer, So, he was amazing. He was an amazing boss to work for. And like, honestly, I give him almost all the credit for where I'm at now is because of him. And just,
which is so cool.
Yeah.
And just a couple of things that you just said too, like the one about like doubting yourself. That's such a big part of being an entrepreneur. Like it's just, there's days that honestly, like my guys will be like, dude, but look what we're doing. And I'm just like, shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, what am I worried about here? Like, we've been figuring it out for years.
Spoiler
We're not going to stop
we
figuring it out.
still have those doubts, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's just, that's the name of the game when you're in it.
No, it is 100%. And then the other part when you're saying like, you're not scared to be the person asking the dumb questions.
No.
It's for me. So like I had a situation like that when I worked for Verizon Wireless. I stepped into a position as a salesperson and I'd never been in sales, but there was a guy there that was killing it. And everybody's like, nobody can ever beat him in sales.
And you're like, watch me.
His name was Tom Little. But instead of me being like, I'm going to go attack him, I stuck to his hip every day.
Yeah.
Like if he went out for a smoke break, I just stood next to him while he smoked. Like he could not shake me for months. And then I just learned the right way to do things and put my own spin on it and just kind of took off with it. So
yeah, I heard a quote a long time ago, like if you're the smartest person in the room, find in your room. Yeah, you're in the wrong room.
100%.
And I'm that way. Like I want to hang out with the people that are like richer, wiser, smarter, like that have done this over and over again, and like just soak them up. Like so I just ask them questions.
Yeah, I mean it's just a dumb mentality to be like, I'm like either too much of my ego or whatever's in the way, to be like, I might be able to learn something from you and save myself time, money, effort. You know, like if you can help me avoid a roadblock, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
I'd rather not spend the time and money.
And you know what? Like, and not to my family's fault or to my parents' fault, but like I didn't grow up learning a lot of these things. Like I'm so jealous of my husband's childhood in that aspect.
I wanted
of
to
like,
ask you about that. Yeah.
You know, he grew up in the restaurant industry and the business industry. He had his dad to look after. Like his grandpa was like Mr. Fixer-Upper, and like he can like literally go in and put a new roof on a house tomorrow, and just he just knows all that stuff.
Right.
And I was like envious of him. Like, man, I wish I had like your business mindset at such a young age. Like here I am, when I first met him, like I don't even have credit. How do I do that? Like he's like, you don't? I'm like, no. Like, and
it's so big though, because if they don't tell you about that stuff,
no,
same. Like my family is very supportive, but those are just not conversations that were ever had about like building credit, what you need to like actually do the proper things to set yourself up for life down the road.
Yeah,
it's just not conversations that, because the knowledge just either wasn't there or it just got passed over from generation to generation in some families. But yeah, that's so big.
So he's been a key in all this for me too, because I ask him obviously a lot more questions.
Yeah.
And I know like at one point he was like, look at me like, you don't know some of these answers. I'm like, no, I don't. Obviously like now I'm getting a lot better, but like when I first started, I didn't know anything.
So from the point that you stepped into the situation with Lila Anytime Fitness to now, that time frame then's been around like 9 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Something, right? So okay, I mean that's still a pretty tenured entrepreneur at this point. Do you feel like you're a tenured entrepreneur though?
Yes and no, because, and I like always joke with my CPA because she's every time I text her, she's like, please tell me you're not buying something. What are you doing now? I'm like, I'm not. Just have a question. Another question. So no, because I don't feel like you ever like get comfortable. If you're a true like entrepreneur, you're constantly like, I sometimes wish I wasn't that way. I'm just like, just be comfortable.
I know.
Just be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
So yes and no. Like I feel like looking back, I'm like, wow, I've came a long way, and I can tell like, my 10-year ago self versus now is like a totally different person.
Yeah.
But I just know myself, and I know that like, no, you never just settle. You're just going to continue.
Exactly.
So it's just never going to end.
Yeah. It's like when people bring out the word retirement, I'm just like, I know I'm one of those people that's never going to fully retire.
No.
Like my retirement for me is like, I'm just going to do what I want when I want. And if I don't want to work for 2 weeks, I'm not going to work for 2 weeks.
Right.
But even on our honeymoon, me and Lish, we sat down at the pool. I was literally maybe 25 minutes into it. And I was like, I got to do something. And
I can't relax.
Dude, we're 20 minutes into this.
I would say it's a positive and a negative thing about myself. I wish I could get into the state of mind of relaxation.
Me too.
I just can't.
Have you ever tried meditation?
Like, yes, but I just can't get there.
It's such a struggle. Like, so I got into it like a year ago, and it's such a struggle. Like when I don't do it on a consistent basis anymore. I tried to do it like consistently for like 60 days to get in the habit. But yeah, my mind is just, it's always going. So like I have to catch myself in the middle of trying to think about nothing, thinking about business.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely like, I would say, I mean, it's obviously a positive trait, right? But that's also a very like negative red flag of myself. Like, and I know that about myself. Like I have a very hard time turning things off and just relaxing. I've had to create boundaries, and I've really tried to stick to them. Yeah. But it's hard.
It's very, very
so
hard. Yeah, just the juggling of time is something that I want to talk to you a little bit more about too.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, to me, it's one of the hardest parts about this type of personality and just doing what we do, because there's just not enough time in the day.
No.
Like there's just
no. And people ask a lot, like, now that you have a business, you're owner of your own business, like, what are the positives, what are the negatives, right?
Yeah.
Like the positives and the negatives are kind of the same thing. Like
They really
you
are.
have this flexibility, you have this freedom to be able to go do the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also some days where I'm like, oh, I really wish I could just clock in and clock out.
I know.
Like it doesn't happen,
I'm so
right?
envious of some of my employees that are like I have employees that are just, I'm going to clock in at 9, I'm clocking out at 5. And I tell everyone, I'm like, that's completely fine. Like I have no problem with that. And there's times that I'm envious of them that they just turn it off at 5. And by 5:10, they're thinking about the weekend.
Yeah,
like,
right.
They're done and out.
But they're both, it's give and take, right? Because I also love that, like, if my kids have field trip and I want to take the day off and can go do that, and there's no issue there. Like, so there's so many positives.
Yeah, for sure.
But it never stops.
So I want to get a little bit more into the Diet Doc thing, because that's obviously your second business, right? So that came after Anytime.
Yes. So it's actually my second business. But I think what a lot of people don't know about me is I do that full time. I'm a full-time nutrition consultant. So I have about 25 clients that I work with every single day, week.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you take 25 clients and times that by the amount of time, right, and effort, you're looking at a pretty solid work week right there. So I actually, I'm a nutrition consultant full time, obviously on top of being at the gym and everything else too.
Right.
But second business came after Anytime, but that is technically what I do full time.
So the reason I'm curious about it is because with a lot of people, they get into this entrepreneurship journey. They open the first business, right? Mm-hmm. Then because it looks great on paper, like especially right now, I feel like there's a huge culture of people that are just like hearing all this stuff about hustle grind, like be your own boss, all this stuff. And it looks like stars and butterflies and all that stuff, and then people get into it and it's like, shit, I'm the one that has to make sure that there's money coming in every single day. Like it's not like you get to play boss for a week and then you get to take 2 weeks off, and you know what I mean? Like it's
and that you're responsible for
other
how many
people's
lives and paychecks.
100%.
Like
I was actually just thinking about the other day, like for some reason I think about the amount of employees that we have, but then I started thinking about like the arms of those employees, and I'm like, Jesus, like I'm not responsible for, 10, 15, 20 people. I'm responsible for all the people connected to them that are also relying on this. And then you get to big numbers and you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, it's
a little scary.
Yeah. It's not a small.
Kind of makes you want to throw up.
Yeah. It's not a.
But it kind of makes you want to work a little bit harder for them too.
Does.
Right? Like
It
I
does.
am a mama bear for my employees.
Yeah.
Like my claws come out.
Yeah.
These are my babies.
Right.
Like I will take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
I will go to bat for them. I'll make sure they're taken care of, But
Yeah. I'm 100% the person that thinks like I work for my employees. They do not work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am 100% responsible to them way more than they are to me, for sure.
100%.
And if you take care of the people that take care of you, like they will make sure that you're good.
Yep.
So, but I'm just curious because a lot of people, they jump into it, then they get into the nitty gritty, the days that you're doubting yourself. They get into the, the days when the bank account's overdrawn and like bills are due and all that stuff. And then they either decide to shut it down, but it's really hard for a lot of people to take the next step and be like, I'm doubling down. I'm going to a second business. So obviously, I'm guessing you liked what was happening at Anytime Fitness and liked the entrepreneurship stuff.
Yep.
So, like, what was it that made you want to jump into a second business? Because obviously, I'm guessing that already was taking up a good amount of your time. So was it just?
Yeah.
And you obviously don't seem like the person that's like, well, it was more income.
Yeah.
So.
No, not at all. And like that was one thing I even wanted to talk about before we even started. Like, we're talking about success, and so many people think like success just means money, and like for me, it doesn't. Like. Could I go be doing other things right now and make a lot more money? Yeah, I could. In fact, I went to school to be a pharmaceutical sales rep.
Yeah.
Company car, gone all the time, making shit tons of money. Right? Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
For me, success is like doing what I feel like I'm called to do, but having that purpose, being able to help other people. And at the end of the night, be able to lay down on my pillow going, okay, did I make a difference?
Yeah.
That, to me, is success, right? So I think that I needed to say that first, just before I got into the second thing, is I didn't open a second business because my first business was just prospering so much.
Exactly.
It was more so like, what is my next step? That, again, marries very well with my first step.
Yep.
And how can I kind of replicate that and become, again, this one-stop shop, this place where literally anybody that is like, I need to get healthy can come and have any of these different options. Yeah. Right? Especially in Lima. Like, it's hard here.
It is.
It was really hard here.
It is.
It has potential, but it's hard. And so I wanted to be that one-stop shop, and I'm not done either. I'm not giving any teasers, but I am not done.
Okay.
But that's sort of my goal. I don't feel like I've like fulfilled my purpose completely yet. Like I still have other like dreams and kind of hopes in my head of down the line. Obviously you have to have some money to be able to continue to do these things. You can't just,
But money to me is like, it's a vehicle, right? Like it's not the vehicle that buys me expensive things, because we don't have like a huge luxurious lifestyle. Like I think you're the same way, it's a comfortable lifestyle, but we're not out here rolling around in Bentleys and you know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, it's a vehicle to make change, and like follow your purpose. And that, for me, that is what it does. It helps me be able to affect other people's lives in a positive way. And even just like the employees that I have, I know that when I'm doing better, I see it trickle down to them,
for sure.
Trickle down to my family members, my friends and stuff. And that's the part that I'm addicted to. That's why I can't, like, for me, opening up new businesses and stuff just opens up more vehicles and more ways for me to make impact on people.
A long time ago, I heard, I'm a quote person, if you haven't noticed.
I love quotes. I can't ever think of who said it.
No, me neither.
But I can repeat them.
Sorry, I can give any credit.
I can tell you who shared it maybe on Facebook.
No, but they said, find your passion, find what you love to do, and find somebody to pay you to do it. And that's where I started, right? Like, here's the list of what I love to do, or what I feel like I'm good at, or what I feel like what my purpose is. Right. And I'm gonna go find somebody out there who's gonna pay me to do that. Yeah. And that's where it started. Now I pay myself to do that. Exactly. But I really think at the end of the day, like you were saying, like your success is not just all about money. Like if you can't lay your head down at night, going, okay, I made a difference today. I feel good. I feel self-fulfilled. Like, then that's just a really awful life. I don't want to live that life.
Yeah. And I mean, in that case too, it's like, then go get that job that you're unhappy at, right? Like if that's the only thing that you're worried about, like go get the job that pays more money, has less stress. Like don't be an entrepreneur if that's the only thing that you're worried about, I feel like, because to be a good entrepreneur, I feel like you have to have another driving factor besides just money.
100%. Yeah. And to people on the outside, they don't always see, there's this like really good picture that I'm going to send to you so you can put it behind this, but it basically shows you like, this is what people think success looks like, and this is really what it looks like, and it's like all over the place, and like the lows and like down in the dumps, and then the highs, and then it's like, it's not this like pretty little rainbow. Like it is just like, it's kind of a hot mess at times.
It is.
But I think when you stick, you remember and you kind of go back to like, what was my purpose? What am I here for? It makes it a little bit easier.
It does. Yeah. And I mean, like to me, one thing that helps me a lot with that stuff too, like the highs and the lows, is I feel like I've been blessed in some way with a reset button. Like I feel like when I go to bed at night and it's like the worst, most stressful day, I wake up and I'm like excited every single morning. Like I wake up fired up. I'm up and I'm like ready to work and do stuff. And it just, that reset every day helps me a lot in being like, okay, let me recenter. Yes. Remember why I'm doing this without all the noise of the day going on yet and all that stuff. So
it's probably the best feeling ever to wake up every day and not feel like you have to work. Like it doesn't feel like work,
No, it really doesn't.
Like, don't get me wrong. We all love to go on vacation, but like, I'm not gonna lie. I actually crave structure. Like I'm ready to get back at it, and I'm excited for the day. I remember a time in my life where I wasn't. It was sort of like dreadful, like that Sunday gut dread feeling like tomorrow's Monday.
I just said that to somebody. I just said that to somebody.
Like I haven't had that in years. It's like the best feeling ever.
Was that you, Cam?
Sure was.
Cam dreaded Monday. He had Monday off.
Yeah, no, I actually just said that to Cam. I said, what's crazy is that like I literally look forward to like everybody else hates Mondays and I can't wait for Monday. Like I love Mondays just to be able to get back to it and stuff, because being a busybody, even that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like the last second half of Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I feel like I'm just slacking. Like there's times that I'm like, do I even own anything at this? Like, do I work anymore if I take that whole weekend and just do nothing? So yeah, I completely agree. And I think that that's cool that like you found something that partnered so well with your first business, because that's something that like our businesses partner a little bit and they, mix and match a little bit, but it's been really hard for us. And that's something that we've looked at is like, what can we do that works really well with what we already have? So when you found Diet Doc, like, was that something that Lyle had already mentioned? Was it something that your partner brought up to you? Was it?
No. So I actually started with the Diet Doc back when I competed. And
as a client?
As a client.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I signed up with them to help me kind of through my whole prep. Actually, it was more my post than my prep to the competition, because people always, if you want anything about bodybuilding, it's not getting on stage that's the hard part. It's reversing back off of that.
Oh,
like,
really?
There's this like really just low and just dark place after you have this huge high that people don't really realize. And I actually hired them to help me out of that.
Wow. Yeah, that's the complete opposite of what I would think.
No, because you just see like the Instagram like ab selfies,
right,
and
right,
like,
exactly.
oh, I love my life. Like, actually, no, everybody behind that picture like hates them, hates their life. So anyway, I hired them. I worked with the coach after my show to kind of reverse diet and get my calories back up and mentally. And we have a health psychologist on our team, and she was amazing at helping. Like just the whole psychology of dieting, people don't understand. And
which is like the videos that you send me and stuff.
So
yeah.
So you see Dr. Joe's video.
Right.
Yeah. So I just like fell in love with them because of that. Like they weren't just talking about like macronutrients and micronutrients and calories and dieting and workouts. It was like, hey, you just like came off a very high point in your life and like very restrictive. Like we got to figure out how to get you back to a normal human being, and we're going to teach you all the psychology and how to come off that and still be a normal person and function in society. So worked with them post show. Obviously, like they really helped me. And then I kind of followed them for years after that, would work with a coach on and off if I had certain goals and things in mind. And then I just like kept them in my back pocket, like knowing like if Anytime Fitness, like they tried for years to try to get a nutrition partner. And it's just hard, something can't really scale between, we have 5,000 clubs worldwide. Right. It's hard to find one nutrition partner. So I just said, I think I'm just going to go out and do this since they can't find an answer, that I'm going to go do it. So that's why we sort of kept it separate, but it again marries very well with Anytime. So the whole reason I even got to the diet doc was my competing days and going through that whole cycle.
Well, and I wanted to talk about that actually. I actually had a little note because I didn't even know that you had done that. I was doing I was doing my digging and it's funny because I don't know if you want me to say this or not. Well, you put it on Instagram, so you probably don't care. Yeah. But I seen a picture of your competition. Yeah. And you're like, this is back when I was miserable, hungry, constipated. And I told Cam, I was like, see, like that's the stuff that I want to talk to people about, because if you put that caption as something different, it's going to send a totally different message to girls that are maybe looking at like doing that or are in those shoes right then, you know what I mean? So I think that that's a really cool thing that you're able to be transparent like that and shed light on something that probably a lot of people, just even like the, tapering off of it is the harder than getting to the stage, that a lot of people probably don't know and wouldn't have any idea unless people opened up about it. So I wanted to talk about like the bodybuilding. It sounds like was one of the first things. Obviously you had your college like athlete days and stuff.
Yeah. So I really struggled because I had like been a competitive athlete like my whole life, high school ended. Most people are like done with sports, go to college. I played another 4 years. And then that was
UNOH, correct?
Yes.
The whole time?
Yep. Okay. Yep. So, and then I stayed on and coached after that, but I just like was like, okay, I need to compete at something. Like, what can I compete at? You know? So I signed up for a bodybuilding show, and honestly, like I have no regrets because everything that I went through, the good and the bad, like literally led me to where I am now. Like I would not be in that position if I hadn't gone through that. So I don't want to say like I regret doing it. Yeah. But
so is it something that you would like, if there was a 21-year-old version of you asking you, like, would you recommend them doing it? Like, was the good outweigh the bad?
And I've had like dozens of mostly females come to me and just say like, this is what they want to do. And my question back to them is always like, why? Right. What is your reasoning on wanting to do that? Right. You can usually tell with that question if I would say like, I would suggest it or not. 9 out of 10 times I say no, because most of them just say they want to achieve that look. And then I go into like, at what cost are you willing to reach your goals and give up your entire life? Because there's a lot of things people don't know about that. So I just kind of give them the honest truth that maybe I didn't have when I first started. I wouldn't like suggest it by any means. But
just like, depending on what they're
even if you look on Instagram right now and you look at any bodybuilding, somebody who's in bodybuilding, like it's like 1% of the population can actually like do that forever. Right. Right. Like 1%. And most of them are on drugs. And most of them are married to somebody who's also on drugs and doing that. No, I'm kidding. Right. Probably shouldn't put that in there. But there's a very, very small percentage that can like sustain that, maintain that, and do that all the time. So for the rest of us, that are just normal human beings looking on Instagram and like, oh, that girl's really shredded, or that guy's jacked. Like, I want to do that. And then you look at everything that it takes to get there. And then again, it's just more than just it's more than just working out and eating. Like, you have to, and I talk about this in some of my podcasts, but like, it was the worst. Like, physically, I was in the best shape of my life. Like, I had 6-pack abs. I was shredded. Like, I looked phenomenal. Like, everything else in my life suffered. My marriage was terrible. I mean, I wasn't very fun to be around. I had to go to the gym 4 times a day. Didn't want to go out to eat. Couldn't go to family functions. Wanted to go to bed at 8. Had 0 libido. Like, cool. I said it was a great life. Exactly what you signed up for, Brandon.
Right.
No. So marriage was terrible. Like, financially, people don't realize how expensive it is.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, just like all the
the
supplements,
shows.
and
You have to get your card. You have to like just so many things. Your tan, all that stuff. It's so like financially. The suit alone was like $1,200. Like, just stupid. So yeah, financially, marriage, and then just you're just mentally, you're just a hot mess. Like, I was not like who I was supposed to be. Like, my character was so terrible.
Right.
Like, terrible. I was obsessed with myself, because who isn't if they're just working out all day?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't me. Like, I'm the kind of person I love to like throw events and go to parties and like travel, and like I didn't do any of that because it was too hard to maintain what I needed to maintain to be on stage, being that person. I had to be like this hermit that was like, I will sleep, eat, and train. That was all. That's all I'll do. You know?
Right. Yeah, and I mean,
hated that.
And so that's, even that alone is a lot of like the lows that people probably don't think of. What were some of the highs of like long lasting, things that you took from that?
Yeah, the one like positive thing that came out of it, there's 2. One, again, I'm here where I am because I developed this like love. So I was in bodybuilding with a bunch of other females. I ended up kind of being like the mother hen of the group. A lot of them still like struggle with eating disorders and have a lot of issues.
Gotcha.
And I felt like I was kind of like the mama hen to all of them. Like, come hither, come, let me help you. Like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. So, because of that, I developed this love of helping people. And then because of that, it led me to the gym and training clients, and now helping this other side of it, this flexible dieting. Like, you don't have to follow this meal plan and be rigid and do crazy things. Like, you can like still have a life, like, and have some structure, but also have some flexibility as well. So I literally preach exactly what I was preaching to them. And, I would never be where I am now without that experience.
Yeah.
The second thing is discipline. Like, you have to have so much discipline
I can
to do it.
To be hungry all the time and still do what you need to do, and be sleep deprived, and
just
like all that
discipline
stuff.
is just, I really shocked myself. I mean, I know I'm a disciplined person, but going through that and putting myself through that, I realized like I can literally do anything. Yeah. So that was the other positive thing that came out of it. Like,
and isn't it crazy how just like when you look, because I think we're both in the same boat, to where it's like we know that we're not finished, right? And we know that there's a bunch of stuff that we want to do, but even looking at like where you're at now, to me, it's crazy to think about like all the small things that I didn't realize were setting me up for success for what like my actual purpose was. Yep. That just seemed like, small little life lessons. But then when you get to a point that you feel like you're living your purpose, you're like, wow, that makes sense. Yes. Like, this set me up for this. This helped me with this. And like you going through that, now the fact that you're able to circle back and help people, and you lived it, on like the wrong side of some of it. But now you know what it's like to go through that, and you're helping both sides of the spectrum, which is awesome. For sure. So like I said, I have no regrets doing it. I won't ever do it again. So that was a one and done, right? But maybe when I'm like 75. Yeah. That was just a one and done then, right?
It was a one and done.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
But it was just a crazy journey. I'm super glad I did it. Coming out of that, like, again, I have 0 regrets. I am where I am because of that, but I would not go back down that path again. Yeah. For sure.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, to me, like, it's not something that's ever interested me, but it is definitely something that I look at people and I'm just like, that's impressive, because I can imagine what type of discipline and stuff that it takes. So I'm sure it was a really good lesson.
See, I look at it the opposite. Like, I look at it like it's impressive, but I also know
you've been
like
there.
I just am like, let me peel this layer real quick, because I know you're struggling. Yeah. Because, and again, I think that's why I'm so open and honest and raw on my social media and everything else, because so many people, not that I want to sit here and post all the terrible things about it, but I don't ever want people to like see something and be like, oh my gosh. Oh, you know, and I'm like, no, I'm going to keep it honest and raw. Like,
no. And I think that one, it obviously makes you way more relatable for sure. But I think that that is the same with entrepreneurship, right? Like so many people look at it and think like, God, that must be nice. That must be nice. That must be nice. And then you peel back that little layer and you're just like,
like, oh, they don't see the sleepless nights and like
exactly
the extra hours.
And like we were talking about, like being able to go to the kids' field trip, but you don't see the hours that you don't get to spend with your kids because you're doing all these other things and all that stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah. I do want to ask you too about ultra running. So obviously I don't know when you got into it, but this is a passion that we share.
Yes.
So it sounds like, I don't know at what point, I mean, being an athlete, so like I grew up playing sports my whole life too.
Yep.
And I think when you do get to the point that you're no longer playing sports, it is just like the addiction of competition and pushing yourself and stuff that
dopamine. Hello.
Yeah. I can't get enough.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's, to me, it's just like finding that one more thing, you know, that's like a new challenge or whatever. So like I said, it's a passion that we share. I got into it by super weird happenstance on a YouTube video. And I'm curious when, because I'm guessing you obviously ran when like just normal cardio training, or have you been like a distance runner for a long time?
No, and it's funny, I don't even really consider myself a runner.
Yeah.
Which is weird because everybody's like, you have like 25 medals on your desk, but you're not a runner. I'm like, no, I'm really not. Like I'm not a runner.
Right.
I just like to do hard shit.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not a runner.
That's so fun. I literally feel the same way. Like if people ask
like,
me,
what did you PR your mile? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm literally in the exact same boat. I love doing hard stuff.
Yeah. So I just realized real quick that like sports performance is a way better calling for me than to like step on stage.
Yeah.
So after that whole like competitive time, obviously like, oh my gosh, there's so much more we can get into with that. But like, I like struggled for a period, like probably 2 years after that.
The competitive time of the bodybuilding.
Yes.
So, I mean, we can always circle back to ultra.
Let's circle back.
We can circle back because I'm.
Well, it leads to that.
Because I'm interested. Like to me, it's the most interesting things are when people do hard stuff or go through like really hard times, how they move themselves out of it. Because I've went through some myself for sure, and I feel like everybody's story is so different on the things that like dig them back out. It's not the cookie cutter like do this, do that, do this. So I'm very curious of like what were those the dark.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean,
I mean just
struggles.
like the little things coming off of that, like you know, you see yourself on stage in the best shape of your life. Literally that day is the best shape of your life. Like that 24 hours, right?
Is that 24 hours a high?
You'll never look like that again, ever, right? So like that's a mental mind fuck.
Gotcha.
Right? Like that's the best you're ever gonna look. And then after that, like it probably took me maybe 2 years to even get back in a swimsuit again.
Really?
Like I didn't even want to like, because why would you?
Even though you were, in everybody else's eyes, they're just like, wow.
Yeah. But like, that's just hard. Like, you know, like it took time. It really was the only thing that like healed me was like the diet doc and just really like working on the psychology part of it. But
now, was it just like the thought of peaking, like that you had just peaked and then it was like, it's like all downhill from here, or was it just?
I think that I thought because I'm a crazy person that I could somehow maintain that, and I just couldn't.
And then once you realized you couldn't.
Yeah, so that was hard. And like, I don't know that I've really cared what other people thought necessarily, but like it was a disappointment in myself, sort of like, how did you get to this place and then like you can't stay there? You know, it was kind of like I felt like a disappointment.
I feel like I've heard that about a lot of like Olympic athletes and stuff too.
Yeah. Right. So I just really like so those were minor things. Like some of the bigger things were like because my body fat percentage got so low, I actually lost like all hormonal function and my cycle and everything else. So when it came time to wanting to have kids, I struggled to get pregnant. So Brandon and I tried for over a year and a half. And spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of shots and a lot of hormones and
like
pills
fertility
and
help and
oh
all
my
that stuff.
gosh, struggled a lot. So even that, you know, like I didn't realize like how detrimental like that was at the time. I was like, I don't care, I'm young and whatever, but
telling
like
you about it,
that like replicated into like, okay, now I want to have babies and like I can't even have babies. This is crazy, you know. So I think that, I mean, those were the two major things. Like mentally, you're going through this really hard time. And then to try to get my cycle back, I had to like intentionally put on weight to be able to get pregnant. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm intentionally getting fatter on purpose so I can have babies. And just the whole mental, like, it was very, very hard.
When you just put yourself through all that to shred. Yeah.
Like that's just mentally, and especially for a woman, not that for men it doesn't matter,
right.
But like I feel like a man, you can like kind of bounce around 10 to 15 pounds and like, it's like, oh, he's got a dad bod. But if a woman does that, no, like it's like she got fat. No, 100%. Like that's how I felt like mentally. So
yeah, it is very unbalanced for sure. Yeah.
So I struggled. I just really struggled coming out of that, and then struggled trying to get pregnant, and eventually had 3 beautiful babies.
With the coolest names.
It all worked out.
Yeah, with the coolest names. Can we talk about their names? Because their names are pretty freaking awesome.
Yes.
I want to know where Cozy came from. So if I'm right, Cozy's the oldest, right? Your daughter.
Yep. She's my sweetheart. She's super cozy.
Yeah, so I've never really like I've seen her around because I coached your son's football team, Cruz.
Yep,
he's the middle.
Yep, he just cruises along. Like he just kind of follows and does whatever. And
yeah, he was awesome.
He's hilarious.
And he was 4.
Yeah,
right?
he was young.
Playing with all the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds.
Yes.
But yeah, he was a stud.
Yep.
That kid's gonna be an athlete for sure.
He's just there. Like we love him, but he's just like we'll do whatever. He's just, like seriously, my kids fit their names. Like Cozy.
I was gonna say, so
Cruz,
does Storm fit Storm?
And then Storm,
really?
He is so bad. He is so bad. He's awful. We love him, but he is so bad.
Wow.
So he's a Storm.
Usually, I feel like they say the second kid is the one that like.
I feel like he'll probably get in trouble, maybe, but like it's not. I'm his mom, so it's not going to be his fault. He's going to run around with people and get in trouble.
Right.
No, he probably will. Actually, both boys will.
Yeah. So we have our second one on the way, and
I know,
but my son is so good, and he's just been the easiest. Like I tell people this, and I feel like people are like, sure he did, but he literally potty trained himself. I took his diaper off, put underwear on, and he never peed the bed.
Wow.
He was just
they don't make more than one of those kids
exactly
in the same family.
That's my problem. Is I'm like, my daughter is going to be the only girl on both sides of the family.
Ooh.
She's already spoiled rotten.
Yep.
Her closet is stuffed. She has like 8 pairs of sunglasses. I'm like, she hasn't even seen sun yet. Like,
That's
what does she need 8 pairs of
That's
sunglasses?
hilarious.
Yeah, we have like this huge thing of all these bows and all this stuff. But
I love it.
yeah, I'm like, there's no way I'm getting lucky twice.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no way.
You won't.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks. That makes me feel so much better.
That's why I only had 3. I probably had if I had 3 Cozies, I'd probably still be having kids.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like he put me.
Well, that's why originally before I met Lish, I was like, I'm one and done. I was like, I'm good. Like this kid's perfect.
God had other
he's
plans.
He's into sports. He likes all the same stuff that I like. He's super easy. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm so excited. Like I'm definitely going to be the girl dad rocking it out for sure.
I know. Oh, parenting's hard.
yeah.
But it's great. It's great.
It's
great.
It is. It really is the most rewarding thing in the world, though. Like me and my son were just playing around the world like basketball last night, and he beat me. And at first I was like, dang, that's kind of cool.
That's good. Well, my kids have never beat me, and my husband's also never beat me. So ever.
Really?
Undefeated, 34 years.
Dang.
And counting.
Dang. I feel like that should be a mini documentary.
Cam's over here like, you want to go? We have a court downstairs.
Cam's a runner.
Oh, just kidding.
So he actually is a runner. He's not a distance runner, though. Hurdles and what else, Cam? Just hurdles?
110 hurdles. I guess I was a sprinter. Pretty much.
Nice.
Not long distance, though.
Don't be scared to rip off the resume,
so the
Cam.
opposite of you and I.
Right,
We're
exactly.
not sprinters.
No, not at all. I'm slow and steady.
You know what's funny?
The
they were just saying, they were like, every time you're away from your kids, all you do is talk about your kids. And I'm like, we're talking about our kids right now.
Yeah, of course. But no, so yeah, with the bodybuilding and stuff, like what is it that you feel like really brought you? I'm guessing Brandon was, I'm sure, like up and down with you. Like, as your moods and like just as
he
that
was
journey
super
happened.
Supportive. Honestly, like looking back, I'm like, wow, I'm actually kind of shocked how supportive he was. Does that sound terrible? He was super.
I mean, and you guys were young, right?
Yeah, we were young, so we had no kids. Like we both worked a lot, and that was sort of just our nature. We were fine at that, but he was supportive, knowing that like I really, really wanted to do it, and like he's always like, you're crazy and you're gonna do it.
That's what Lish tells me.
But. And then I'm like, do you guys know that fuels me? Like, that just makes it worse when you tell me, like, I know you're going to do it. And you're like, yep, that's me. Yep. or if they tell me I'm not going to do it. So really they just can't tell me anything.
I only signed up for this 100-mile race because Lish said there's no way you can run 100 miles. And I was like, I literally looked at her. I was like,
now
why?
I have to.
I said, why would you say that to me? Like, now you just made me have to.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But no, he was super supportive through it all. But he also was like waiting for me to be done because he was like, okay. But I realized it myself too. Like, this isn't the person that I want to be.
And at that point, you guys were married?
We were married. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So
we had been together, I think, like 4 or 5 years at that point too. So
gotcha.
he saw me like smash cheeseburgers in college, and then he saw me like step on stage within a
Yeah,
matter of 4
what
years.
just happened?
Yeah. Now I have a happy medium. But
Nice. How was your family through all of that stuff? Like, because it sounds like your guys' family is pretty close, right? Like, I know that you're really close with Brandon's family, and you're close with your family.
Yeah, close to my family too. Yeah, they, again, like my family just knows me, and both sides of the family are basically like, she's nuts and we're crazy, but we still love her and support her, even though the things that she does, we don't always agree with.
Yeah. It's such a blessing to have like in-law, like family, it's a little easier, but in-laws that are like that is like the biggest blessing in the world.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely like accept me for who I am and know that I'm just a crazy person, but I still have the same heart behind it all. Yeah. So yeah, they were super supportive. My dad, I think his face, I'll never forget his face, like when he actually came in. Have you ever been to a bodybuilding show?
No.
Like, you kind of feel like you're at a strip club. You know, like you walk
Everybody's
out there.
walking around in thongs.
Yes, and then like the things you have to do on stage is almost like borderline. Like, I felt uncomfortable. Yeah. And then here's my dad in the third row, like cheering me on. Like, this is so awkward.
Squeeze
like,
your butt cheeks,
how's my glutes look, father?
Yeah.
So bad. But no, he was super supportive through it all, and honestly, my whole family was. And then I think they were happy when I was done too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure not having kids at that point, like, do you feel like if you were to want to go back and do that now, like that type of time and commitment that you had to put into that, do you even think it's possible? Like,
so the time
with having the family and stuff that you have now.
I feel like the time and commitment could be done, because I just feel like when you're a parent, you just figure it out.
Yeah. Very true.
But I have zero interest in becoming that person that I was as a mom.
Right.
Like, no offense to my husband, but like, he got the blunt of it all, and I felt like, meh, it's okay.
He's the one that can handle it.
He's an adult; he'll be fine, you know. But like, I would never want my 3 children to get the blunt of who I was. During that time. So
yeah, understandable. So I mean, speaking of like your kids and stuff, how do you, like, as far as your time, how do you feel like you manage your time right now, and like having multiple businesses? Because I find it hard for myself to figure out not just work-life balance, but like, because businesses are like children to me. And like, we have this whole thing that me and Cam talk about.
all day. Oh no.
Yeah. We have this whole thing that me and Cam talk about, just how like having a business and starting a business is very similar to like having a child and raising a child, right? Like the different stages that your kid goes through and the different stages that your business go through and stuff. So it's like you have this family and all these kids, and then you have your businesses, which are also like your kids. I don't know if you feel that same way.
Oh,
but
yeah, for sure.
So how do you like try to prioritize some of your time, and like where's your focus? Because I don't know kind of where you're at necessarily as far as any time and Diet Doc. Like, which one? You said Diet Doc's a full time. So does that take like the majority of your time?
I don't even know, to be honest. Like, I feel like, first off, I think if you're out there, like, because people ask me all the time, like, how do you have work-life balance? And I'm like, I don't. Like, so I think if you're looking for balance, like, you're never going to find it. Like, I can't remember one time in my life where, like, I've been like, my work's at 50 and my, like, you know, like 50. Like, no. There's some weeks where my work is 100% and my family suffers, and there's some times where my family is 100% and my work suffers, and I feel like it ebbs and flows. And like, not that I'm just like letting go of my family to focus on work, or letting go of my work to focus on my family. Right. But just kind of going back to what we were talking about before, like some weeks you're dipping out on work to go on field trips and spend that quality time, but there's also some Sundays where I'm at work and my family's at home, right? So I think if you're looking for that perfect balance, you're never going to find it. As far as like perfectly balanced throughout the week, right? But like it ebbs and flows.
Well, and you said that like in one of the texts, I can't remember what we were trying to set up. You had texted me and said, sorry, it was for flag football. And you're like, sorry, I'm that mom that has to schedule everything. Like, 'cause you kept asking, like, are they going to release the freaking schedule?
Yes.
Or like, when are we playing?
Yes.
And it was like Saturday or Sunday. And then it was for like that upcoming week. So, I mean, is that part of like your routine and how you make things work? Is
I
that
feel
you
like
just
all
are
I do
very
is
scheduled?
coordinate all day long.
Yeah.
For work and for home.
Yeah.
Like I'm a logistics coordinator. If anybody asks me what I do, I literally do two things. I am a logistics coordinator, and I dress up my kids for Spirit Day. That's like the only two things I do.
Nice.
Because
That's
how
not
many
too bad.
freaking days do they have to dress up as something for school?
Yeah,
It's
that's
kind of
very
annoying.
True.
I'm like,
Very
and
true.
you're a Grinch day, and you're Tube Socks day, and then tomorrow,
Right.
like, you're
It's the
Crazy
100
Hair day.
days in
Yeah, it's
and
like,
yeah.
oh my God, that's the only thing I do. I do all day is dress my kids up as Spirit Day. But no, I've done this for, I don't even know, years now. Like, I have a Monday morning text group with like, I call everybody in my village that helps me watch the kids. And I'm basically just lay out the schedule. Like, Monday, I got to work late. So-and-so needs to be on ball diamond number 10, pictures at this time, da-da-da-da. Daughter's got to be here in Bath this time, whatever.
Well, that makes sense why
Who
you were
can
asking
help?
me then. Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of just throw it out in a group, and then we all just kind of like say, I can take this, I can take that, I can take that. And
Now, have you kind of always had like that support system like that? Like,
yeah. Honestly, it takes a village. Like, I
does.
don't even, and it doesn't have to necessarily be your family. It happens to be like my in-laws that are like the majority of the help because they're close.
Yeah.
We also have a babysitter too that helps, but it can be anyone. But
Yeah.
anybody you're like, hey, who can take my kid here, and who can do this,
Yeah.
and who can do that, and
Yeah.
so I try to like stay on top of it every like Sunday or Monday for the week, just to say like,
Right.
here's where everybody's going, here's what everybody's doing. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a planner necessarily, but like when it comes to kids stuff, like just so I know where everybody's got to go.
What about like your business stuff? I mean, like, are you the logistics coordinator? You know, like, do you
yeah.
feel like you're very good at delegation and like?
No, I
putting
suck
people
at
in?
it, Devin.
Really?
I'm terrible.
Really?
I'm getting better. So one thing we didn't really talk about earlier, but like when I started with Anytime, I started as the PT manager, and then I started as a trainer, first, then the PT manager, then I became the manager, and then I became the owner.
Gotcha.
Let me start that over. I started as a member first,
Yeah.
then I became trainer, PT manager, owner.
Right.
So I'm from the bottom, now we're here.
Yay.
We dropped that kid. No, okay. So
Hit the
my
button,
point
Cam.
with that,
Gotta have that one loaded up.
Yeah, till tomorrow.
Yeah, that's Dakota.
But my point with that is I worked every part of the business from member all the way up.
Right.
That like I know how to do everything. Like sometimes I wish I was
That's
just
the
like
best,
I don't
though.
know how to do anything.
No, I love
No,
that.
it is.
I love
But it's
that.
also the worst thing because. And I'm getting better. I am.
It's very easy to
my manager
micromanage.
Hannah's probably listening, and she's like, she's terrible.
Yeah.
But I am getting better. But I'm very much like, well, I'll just do it myself since I know how to do it, you know. And I've learned like you have people in these positions, and sometimes when I take it away from them, and then they feel like I don't trust them, and I want them to feel like I trust them. So I'm getting better at it. But it made it very easy for me to always. I knew how to do everything, so I'm like, oh, I'll just do it.
Yep.
Plus, then I just know it gets done, and I'm a micromanager, which is also a negative thing about me. There's a lot. Should we just talk about that? I'm terrible. I don't even know you have a podcast.
Let's split these up into hours. First hour, all the bad stuff.
So I'm getting better at that. But yes, I feel like I'm a
And you know what a big thing
I'm
is that like
micromanager too.
that I had to learn was that the people around you, they want to help you.
They
Like,
do.
you know what I mean? Like sometimes I catch myself feeling like, well, I'm helping them by taking the work from them because I can just do it faster and it doesn't, you know, they don't have to fumble through it. I just know how to do it.
Yep.
And they're like, no, I want to help you. Like, I'm your employee. I want to help you not be stressed and take some of the stuff off your plate. That's why you have me here.
Right.
Let me be part of the team.
Right.
Yeah. I've
hard.
only recently, and probably the past like 9 to 12 months, I feel like I've gotten really good at delegation and just being like, I hired you for this. Do your thing. You're awesome. Make it happen.
Yeah.
And the less that I know, the better, because I'm in that spot right now with Legacy, to where I just hired on a guy that was doing construction management for a big commercial company, and now he's taken over our residential stuff. And at first, like the first 4 weeks, I was going to bids with him, and because in my mind I'm like, nobody can sell like I can sell, you know. And I'm like, well, you're just saying it a little bit wrong. Like if you just change your wording. And then I was like, I got to get the fuck out of this guy's way.
Yeah.
Like, or else I'm going to sit and nitpick every single little thing that he says and does. And like, well, don't say the number like this. Put a little more emphasis. Like,
Yeah.
and then I just let him go and he's killing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell was I worried about?
I know.
But if I was there with him every day, I would probably still be, it's not right yet. It's not right yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm the same way, but I don't, I do think it's a bad thing, and we probably should both work on the micromanaging. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for the business.
No,
Like
because nobody's going to love your business as much as you do.
exactly. Exactly.
And you're always going to think you can do it the best way. Although I will admit there's some things I suck at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm terrible at that. That's
I can't
you.
do what
That's
Cam
you.
does. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't do what Cam does.
Yeah.
I don't even want to try.
Exactly.
I see him editing videos, and I'm just like, mm-mm.
You're like, that's your jam. You
Yeah,
got it.
most of the time I see people do stuff, I'm like, oh, I want to learn how to do that. I seen him do that, and I was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that looks way too complex.
Yeah.
You're good. Have at it.
So I think it's something that I definitely need. I know about myself, and I've gotten so much better. I used to be absolutely like when I first bought the business, it was terrible. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I've
You're
got
just in there all the time,
just doing like I got so caught up on doing like the day-to-day stuff. Like I was like working so much in the business that I wasn't working on the business.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta like take a step back. I have to like limit my time that I'm here. I mean, I love my gym members. I love the people in
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like sometimes they forget there's 1,000 of them and there's one of me. So like
Yeah.
if 20 people stop in and say hi for 10 minutes every day,
days gone.
I got nothing done, right?
Exactly.
So, or just like the answering the phone call, like just the simple things that I have all the other people here that can help me do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to like really manage my time here a little bit better. Otherwise, I'm
Well, and let's talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit, like the working on the business,
Yep.
right? When you're in it, like, and you're stuck doing all the little minute tasks and stuff compared to being outside of it from like that eagle's view and actually like making relationships and growing it and all that stuff. Is that kind of where you feel like you're at now with Anytime? Is that you're able to step back and like focus on like growing the business?
I would
and-
say in the last 2 years, and it also helps because I do have an awesome manager who, like, when you have somebody in your position where you can trust and like you want to take care of them and make sure that they're taken care of and they're doing it for you.
Because Hannah manages.
She
Anytime,
manages
right?
the club.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And I mean, I have an awesome staff all around.
Right. Yeah,
but
the trainers are so good. Like I
they
just started
are.
working with Brad and Derek, and they're
They're
both
so good.
awesome. I expected,
know.
this might be bad. Hopefully they're not upset when I say this, but I expected to like one more than the other. I just did.
No.
I was just like, there's probably going to be one that I like working with more than
I
the
actually
other.
train with both of them.
I
every
literally
single
love
week.
working with both of them.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah.
But
so
anyway,
Hannah,
so when you have a good staff, that helps. Have an awesome manager, and because of that, having that like trust in that person, it does take a huge weight off your chest to say like, okay, I know she can handle this, and I'm gonna step back. So, in the last couple of years, I've really tried to manage my time of like trying to work from home and get some things done in the morning before I come in, and just
Yeah.
trying to get like. I was just listening to this podcast this morning, like do the hard things first. Like make a list of the shit you don't want to do, whether they're like just annoying to you, they've been on your to-do list
You'll feel
forever,
so
or they're
motivated
just
throughout the day.
hard.
Yeah.
Get it done first.
Yep.
So I just stay at home and kind of like nitpick through that list of things that just really need my attention and my priority.
Yep.
And then try to get that done first. And I've been in such a better headspace. Like mentally, I feel so much better doing that because I'm like, oh, I got some stuff done. I feel accomplished.
Yeah.
Because I hate those days when
Then
I
no
come
matter
home.
what happens the rest of the day, you feel like you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like whatever else happens the rest of the day, at least I got like the 5 important things done that really needed to get done.
Yep.
Because that's the worst feeling ever when you come home for the day and you're like, did I even do anything
I was
today?
busy all day.
Busy all day, but
and
did I even?
happened.
Nothing got done.
Yeah. 100%.
So I had to learn that, and I'm getting better. I'm still not quite there, but I'm getting better at it.
Right.
And again, when you realize it's not when you realize what you're not good at,
Yeah.
sometimes that helps too. And that's one thing that I've realized about myself. But I'm getting better. I'm making
Well,
progress.
are you the person that, because there's two schools of thought with that. There is the double down on your strengths and hire your weaknesses, right? Or just like, don't worry about your weaknesses, just really dig in on your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the school of thought of like, no, if you're weak at it, like you need to do it over and over and over to get better at it.
I think
Where do you
both.
feel like you fall on that?
I think both. I mean, I never want to just completely suck at it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to at least be okay.
Right.
So, but I think there's a big thing in like, and again, this is probably a terrible personality trait of mine, but like if I'm not good at something in the first 2 minutes, like I'm not going to do it. Like I'll never golf again because it.
Lish hates it.
No, like
And she's
2
good at
times
almost
I golfed
everything
and I'm
and
like,
she
I'm so
hates
bad.
it.
I'm done. If I'm not good at it the first 2 times, I'm not going to do it.
See, but the thing is that nobody that golfs is good at golf.
I know.
Literally
But Top
nobody.
Golf, I'm good at Top
Crush
Golf.
it.
No, but I don't know. I mean, like, I don't want to suck at anything, right? Like, you want to practice and be like decent enough
Yeah,
at something. But I definitely have learned, like, not only for myself, but to put my employees in a position where they're going to be successful too.
Yeah.
Like, it took me a while to get that figured out. Like, why isn't this person doing good in this position? Like, it's making me mad. And I'm like, oh, it's my fault. why am I putting them in a position that they suck at? Let's find
What do you think about that,
somebody-
Cam?
yeah.
Because we just went through this whole like revamp essentially from a podcast.
Yeah.
We were listening to this guy. He was an ex-CIA agent, and he was talking about, it was on Tom Bilyeu's podcast, Impact Theory. I don't know if you ever listened to that, but he was talking about different personality traits and how the CIA goes about essentially like being able to easily dig into people's lives, because just humans by nature are just so predictable, right?
Yep.
So he was saying that there's a very like disarming question that they ask to people, and it can be used to break them into 4 different personality categories. And just by asking them this like interview type of question, then like if you're dealing with this person, they need to be doing these type of tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ran through it with our businesses, and it's amazing how like eye-opening it was just by seeing like, oh, duh, they suck at this because they're this type of person.
Yep.
And I have them doing this that is suited for this type of person. If I put them over here, they'll probably crush it.
Right.
And it's definitely starting to play out exactly like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I took fault to myself because I'm like, well, that's why they're not doing well, is because I don't have them in a position to succeed.
Right.
So I definitely, going back to your question, I definitely think like, I definitely don't want to suck at something. I'm going to work on it until I'm at least decent.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to realize like, these are just the things that I'm just not great at. And
Yeah.
I'm going to hire somebody who's great at it and put them on it. I'll
And so do
focus on
you
the
feel
things
like
I'm good at.
that Hannah is a very good like compliment to you, or is she more like a copy and paste of you? Would you
No, I think she has.
You guys have,
so
like, very
first off, she's an
complementary
English
skills.
major.
think? Oh,
She's a writer. I
Wow.
am terrible with words.
yeah, same.
Like for me to put in a paragraph, I'm like, can I just do a podcast? It'd be so much
Well,
easier.
ChatGPT is the
Can we
best thing
just
that's ever happened in the whole
talk?
world.
Yeah. But I'm like, for me to like have a like very well sounding like response, it would take me like 25 minutes to figure it
Yeah.
out. Where she can just like spit it out and like, I'm talking like, maybe it's a negative review, like how to respond in a like tactful way.
Exactly.
Or like just, I don't know, she's just good at with words in general, like a
Yeah.
Facebook post, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
She's like so good at that where it's like second nature to her. And for me, I'm like, duh. Like, my brain's fried. I can't think of this. So she's an English major,
Yeah.
works in a gym. I'm a marketing major, works in a gym, right? So like I want to be out like, talking to people,
Yeah.
doing things that way.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just a fantastic writer. So
Wow.
she compliments me on that aspect.
Yeah, I would have never. I don't even know what I would think that her major is, but English major.
Yeah.
Would not have been in probably my top 5 guesses.
Yeah.
That's really
I
cool.
mean, how many people do you know that went to college? Well, maybe they didn't go to college at all. If they did go to college, are not doing something that they went to college for.
Well, we wanted to ask you about that, about UNOH.
Not me.
Like, yeah. So, what was your major when you were in college?
It was not diesel mechanics. I know you expected that.
I did. I did. I was going to ask you to touch your hands. I thought they might be like really rough
no.
from working on cars and stuff.
No, not my strong suit. So I was a marketing major,
Okay.
and I actually went to college to be. I just wanted to sell drugs. I wanted to be in pharmaceutical sales.
We're only clipping that part right there.
wanted to sell
and
drugs.
that's the thumbnail. Alexa Miller only wanted to sell drugs.
Yes, and then like some of the rules changed with that, and I just just kind of felt like I don't know if this is really what I want to do, but like I don't know. I just kind of stuck to like I'm in business, I'm in marketing, like I can pretty much do anything with that.
Yeah.
And now I own a gym, so
Right.
hey, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask is like, do you feel like, because I didn't know what you went to school for, right? But do you feel like now that you're an entrepreneur, because I know when I was going through sales training for Verizon, the whole time that I was there, and they put you through a pretty extensive sales training. It's like 2 weeks, and you have to like go to Cincinnati, and you stay in a hotel Monday through Friday.
Oh dang.
And it's like 8 hours a day. But when I was doing it, every sales rep that was actually in the job, working the job, was like, you're not going to fucking need any of that they're teaching you. It literally doesn't matter. Just memorize the stuff, get through it, and then the job's going to teach you what you need to know.
Right.
Do you?
That's most jobs, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like with like your college experience, it's anything like that? Or do you feel like there is a lot of stuff that, that you learned in college that is helping you now as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, yes and no. Like I think in general, like going to college, like leaving my home, like being forced to grow up.
The life lessons, yeah.
Like that alone was what I needed.
Yeah.
Not even adding school in there, right? I just needed like 4 years to like be on my own to figure some things out and
Learn
figure
yourself,
out,
yeah.
figure
Yeah.
out how to do the laundry and just all that stuff, right?
Lish didn't know how to make coffee when we got together.
And you're like, you just push the button.
Yes. I was like, you're
kidding.
joking.
No, but seriously, I didn't either. Like there were so many things that like my parents just did for me, or like
Yeah.
that's just how I grew up. And
Yeah.
so just getting out in general, I think was just like a huge life experience for me, being able to like make decisions, whether they were good or bad, and learning from them. Like that alone, like has helped me where I am. Right.
Right.
Then going to school, like I really think no matter what you're in, you're still learning something, especially for myself. Like I was a
Yeah.
marketing major. So that can pertain to anything. It's a business school, right? So
Yeah.
any business
Right.
you're working in, you're going to benefit because you're learning that. So was there anything like specific that I remember? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Like I, just building relationships and things like that.
Yeah.
I think so. So I think going through college was important for me to grow as a person.
Right.
And I'm sure some of the schoolwork helped too, but there wasn't like anything that I felt like,
Like,
wow,
oh, this is a
I'm
gym
so
that's going to set me
glad.
up. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so when I give speeches to high school students, I always tell them like, cause they're all stressed out around the testing time and what are you going to do when you grow up and when are you going to be when you grow up? And I'm like, listen, nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's okay. And you know what? You can switch it. It's also okay. Like you could ask, out of the 100 people in the room, how many of them are actually doing the job that they went to school for? Yes,
Exactly.
of course, if you're a nurse or a teacher or
Right.
things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
The
at
highly
the end of the day,
specialized
like
type
it's
stuff.
totally okay. Like you don't have to know what you're doing. And like,
Yeah.
you can start out in one thing and end up in something totally different.
No, yeah, my friends joke with me all the time. They're like, you have had more like different jobs and careers and just like business than anybody I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I feel like every time I talk to you, it's something new. I'm like, yeah, because I had to try a bunch of shit until I figured out what I liked because
Yeah.
I was really, really good at sales, but I didn't love it. Like I didn't go to Verizon and was like, oh, I can't wait to go to work today.
Yeah.
So I just started trying a whole mess of stuff. And I went to the University of Findlay. So I made it through like a semester and a half. I was like,
Whoop, whoop.
yeah, I went for pre-law. and-
Ouch.
Yeah. And it was just not for me. Like
Yeah.
when I kept getting alcohol violations because it's a dry campus. Yeah. I got like 4 and they were just like, dude, enough's enough. But it just wasn't for me. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I have no idea what I want to do then. And I just literally for the next, 7, 8 years, I just tried a whole mess of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is one of the only ways because when you're that age and you're picking a major, you have no freaking idea.
No.
Unless somebody's told you, like you said, you're doing this, or if you just happen to be blessed with like a crazy passion for something and you just
Right.
know and you're just laser focused on that.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's so many people that even how they pick their major in college do the same thing with like business and they're scared to like, well, I really like this, but I don't know if I'm going to like it down the road. Like, just go do the shit.
Right.
Like, you're not going to know until and they want to sit and figure out all the minute details of like, well, I'm going to have to do this and I'm going to have to do this. And I'm like, just go
Yeah.
do that. And then you'll figure the rest out and you'll figure out if you like it or not
Exactly.
instead
Exactly.
of trying to
And now
plan
we
out
put so
everything.
much pressure on like kids at that age. Like
Oh,
there's
for sure.
adults that still don't know what they want to be when they grow up.
Yeah.
Like
Literally.
just relax.
Yeah.
The last school that I spoke at, I had them all get out 2 pieces of paper and make a list of like the top 5 things that they're just really good at. Like
Yeah.
they know that they have a talent, they're good. Somebody's told them they're good at it,
Mm-hmm.
and then make another list of the top 5 things they're passionate about. Like what do they really love to do? Like hands down.
Even if they're not good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they love to do? Maybe
Yeah.
it's something they're good at. Most of the time, it is something you're good at that you love to
Right.
do, and kind of cross reference and kind of see like what maybe that's going to help you decide what path to go to.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, nowadays too, I feel like there's so many people that have these things that they love and they're like, but I don't know how I could turn it into a business.
You can turn anything into a business.
Dude, I got to talk about this because I've said it to about every person I know now. And do you ever watch Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the hummingbird helmet on Shark Tank?
I did not.
Oh my God. So these people, they just loved birds and they specifically loved hummingbirds. So they made a visor, a clear visor that's strapped around your head like a,
Yeah.
clear, and they stuck 2 hummingbird feeders on the front of it that you could load up with feed so that a hummingbird could land on your face basically and you could watch the hummingbird eat.
Wow.
Shark Tank invested in it. They gave him like
course they did.
$60,000 or $80,000 or something ridiculous to invest in this business.
Did you buy one?
I should have bought them. I should have, because I'm so envious of them because I'm just
That
like,
is crazy.
I literally walked into work the next day and I was like, I'm done. I was like, what am I doing here?
What am I
Like, what? Yeah, I'm like, I could just be selling hummingbird helmets. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? But it just goes to show that there's literally a market for absolutely everything. And even if you think that the thing that you're super into is the most niche thing ever, it's not. There's other people that are super into it too, and that would be willing to buy that product, service, watch you live stream it, just whatever it, read that book. Like there's.
And I also think it's totally okay to do something that you don't like and that you're not good at.
Yeah.
Because think of how many jobs you've had before this. You're like, yeah, I didn't really like selling phones.
Right.
But it helped you.
Set you
right?
up. Yeah.
It
just like we talked about
something?
it sets you up for down the road.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I look back and some of the things that I did, I'm like, man, no, don't want to do that again. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, holy cow, like what I learned from that a lot.
Yeah.
So,
And most of the times you don't know till you try it.
Right.
So like me and Cam did an interview, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, but I was just saying like, just go do the first step. Like just go start something. Because if not, you get into that whole mental masturbation mode to where it's just like you're just thinking of things and thinking of things and you're learning stuff and you're watching videos and you're taking in podcasts and you're reading books and it's like, just go do something.
even if it's a side gig,
Yeah.
just try
It
it.
doesn't have to make you rich.
Right.
Like, more likely than not, it's not going to make you rich.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, like even if your main job can't be the thing that you absolutely love,
Yeah.
like, okay, go work your job and then go do your side gig and get your fix that way.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll turn into something, or maybe you're just like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this.
Isn't it
This,
insane
supposed
how
to
many
do
like
this.
side gigs there are now too?
Yeah.
Like you can literally, I mean, if you got some hustle, just a little bit of hustle, you can turn
Yeah.
anything into some money.
Yes.
It's insane. It's
You can
nuts.
like Brent and I were just talking about this the other day. Like there's a website now where like women can take a picture of their feet
Yeah.
and men will pay money to, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I mean,
Yep.
if I'm getting low on cash, like
Well, and it's like you're anonymous too, right?
Cam's looking at me like, get this girl
It's not
out
like
of
anybody's
here.
going to see your foot picture and be like, that's Alexa
Except I have
Miller's
an
foot.
anytime minutes running man tattoo
Oh,
climbing up
do
a
you?
mountain, so I don't know if that's
you
very
can't do that.
attractive. No, I
Yeah,
can't.
you can't do that. Everybody would know it's you. There's no anonymity there for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, but it is true. I mean, there's just so many freaking paths that people can take. And it's crazy that we expect an 18-year-old, 17-year-old
Yeah.
to figure that out when they're trying to figure out who they even are, like to begin with,
Yep.
how to even navigate as a person. And we're like, also, while you're figuring that out, can you also figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life?
Yeah.
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 So
Hey, real
college.
real quick. Alexa, can you adjust your mic real quick?
Is
Just
it
straighten
too
it out.
close?
Maybe just down.
Yeah, just straight. Yep.
Good.
Speaking straight into it. Yep, that's perfect.
Sorry, am I speaking all over the place?
No, you're okay.
Okay.
It just got a
I
little
feel like I
off.
could hear you. Yeah, but I don't understand like the asking kids to figure that part out. But for you, I mean, like going to college, even though it didn't translate completely into like where you're at now, it was still worth it. Like
Oh,
it helped you
100%.
figure out a lot of stuff. And because I think right now there's college to me is kind of getting like to the point that there's more people than before that are like, I'm not pushing my kids to go to college.
Yep.
Like they can just go or they cannot go. I kind of feel like I'm in that boat a little bit of I just want to see if it's right for him and just kind of let him choose whether he wants to or not. I don't think I'm really going to like push it one way or the other.
Yep.
Do you feel like you're going to like steer your kids down the college path or no?
Not necessarily. I feel like I was in a little different scenario because I actually got a full ride scholarship to play sports, so it was free. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Makes it a little
why
easier
not?
decision. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and for me, like to be honest, that was my driving force to want to go to college because I got to play 4 more years of basketball.
Right.
So, I think if you're in a scenario where like you're super smart and you know, if you're gonna go into something where you need college to go, you know, if you're gonna go be a doctor,
Yeah.
you're gonna go be a lawyer or
Yeah,
whatever, then absolutely. But if not, no. I mean, some of the best entrepreneurs that I know didn't attend college.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, like obviously I just said I didn't finish
Yeah.
college. I honestly don't even feel like I should say I went to college because I was there and gone so fast that it wasn't even anything pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I feel like there's no bad scenario. Like I feel like if you don't go to college, you're still more than likely going to be able to do the thing that you want to do in the long run. But I also think that going to college because of the life lessons and like being out on your own and all that stuff, I think it could set you up, even if it's not the educational stuff, it could
Right.
still set you up so well for
Right.
life and just
Right.
learning who you are and getting to know people and working with people outside of your small group in your high school or
Right.
whatever.
I think the better question to ask now is because how many people do you know that go to college, end up dropping out of college, and then are in all this debt,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
then they just get themselves in a hole, and then they they don't graduate, and then and then they're paying off the student loan that's accruing, and it's just. So I think that's the conversation to have maybe with your kids versus
right.
you need to go to college or just
yeah.
listen, if you're going, this is how it works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
you better make it worth it.
Yeah, because how many people get themselves into this just whole there's so many people I've talked to, and you know what? To be honest, looking back, I don't think I realized how fortunate I was and how fortunate my husband was. Like, we both graduated scholarships with a full ride scholarship, graduated college with zero debt.
Right.
Like, we started off our marriage with zero debt. Like,
yeah, that's huge.
it's huge. I didn't even realize that. Like, I wish somebody would have told me that. Like, all these 4 years of college that you're going to be broke is worth it because you're basically working this job, basketball, to get paid.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's the conversation to have more so with the young generation, is to say, like, hey, like, you don't have to go to school, but here's how it works.
Right.
It's not just like this free money. Like, you go, if you're going to school, like, this is the loans, this is the kind of the debt. Here's what you need to do.
Right.
I think that's the more of the conversation needs to be had with these young kids versus, do you want to go or not
Choose,
go? Or, yeah.
So you said that when you went and talked to these kids at these schools, like, are you going there to talk to them just about like entrepreneurship, or are you going to talk to them and just about like empowering women?
Yeah,
no,
like a lot of it's for like leadership classes or like their
Gotcha.
senior seminar class, kind of like what life after high school, you know.
Gotcha.
Some life lessons that I've learned along the way, just like my little tidbits or pieces of advice that I would have. But most of it's just on leadership and getting involved and just all those things.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I seriously like really admire about you is that like your reach in the community, that you like are constantly involving yourself in like different things in the community and making yourself like very accessible to people around here and all that. So, I mean, is that something that, because you didn't grow up in Lima, right?
No.
Yes. So,
I'm a trailing spouse.
oh, really?
That's what they call me.
Yeah.
They call people like us.
Gotcha.
Isn't that terrible? That's actually a real name. Like, that's the
Really?
term.
I've never heard that before, ever.
So they actually had a group in Lima at one point. It was like the trailing spouses. And I'm like, geez, can we change that name?
Right.
Like, that's awful.
Yeah. It's a little
So
degrading.
basically it's like whoever, like my husband's
Yeah.
from here, lived here, grew up here, and I'm like here because I married him and now I'm here. So I'm a
Right.
trailing spouse,
So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Archbold.
Oh.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes north.
So did you guys meet at UNOH?
So we met at college. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, yeah, I guess like when I obviously decided that I was going to marry Brandon and he was basically like, hey, this is where we're going to live.
Yeah.
Like for 5 minutes, I was kind of like, whoa, like, I don't know. Not that I had these big dreams of like moving out to California or something, but I kind of struggled a little bit because I'm like, that just took my like huge, like wide net and went like this, you know? But after 5 minutes, I had my little poo-poo party, and then I was like, okay, all right, let's do this. Like, I don't care. I'm a huge believer, and you can make anything happen, and you can be happy wherever you're at. You know, just moving to a different location doesn't make you happier. It doesn't all of a sudden,
I've lived all over the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let's do it. This is what we're going to do. And, like, I'm not going to just, like, sit around and just not do anything. Like, I'm going to go out and still make my dreams come true, too. And
Yeah, so,
he was
I
full
mean,
supportive.
Especially if you didn't grow up here, right? You don't like have those like deep roots in Lima.
No.
That makes it even cooler though that you involve yourself in the community so much. So I mean, what are some of the things that like push you to? Because I'm obviously just even talking to you now, I know it's not that you're just trying to go recruit customers. So what is it about like being out in the community that like what makes you want to go do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so
and just be that visible, because that's something that I struggle with, is making myself very visible.
Right.
You know.
So I'm from a very small town. If you've ever been there before, but my dad's super popular in our town. Like my family, he's coached basketball for 39 years, same school. Like I was very well known in my hometown, right? And then I leave, I come to Lima, and I'm like, oh my gosh, to me this is huge here, right?
Right.
15 years later, I'm still like using my GPS to get places because I'm like, there's too many 1-lane roads for me.
Right.
So when I moved here, I knew like obviously going to university helped because I was already a part of a team and everything else. But I knew if I was gonna have a business here, and this is where we were gonna grow up. Like I wanted to have connection because that's how I thrive. Like I need people.
Yeah.
Like.
Same.
I don't know. I could never be one of those people who like goes on Naked and Afraid. Like I would just be like, somebody talk to me because I need people in my life. So like, I just knew that being here, I was going to have to get involved to it. Like I need people to thrive. So, I played 4 years of college basketball, coached, I had this huge like UNOH community. But then after that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to get involved
Well,
in
and a
something.
lot of those people probably dispersed
Right.
afterwards, right?
So I got involved in the Lima Young Professionals and worked my way up. I started as like the secretary and worked my way up as president and vice president. And then I graduated out because now I'm not a young professional anymore. And then got involved in BNI, which was awesome.
I just joined BNI
Did you?
not that long ago.
Yeah, I was in that for like 6 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I give a lot of credit to them. Like I just developed a lot of relationships, and honestly, not even just business, like friendships. From them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 100%. We just went and ran the half marathon, and I went with somebody from BNI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that group was great. Just being involved in the chamber and, just the community in general. Like I love.
So you actually found those outlets that I feel like a lot of people pass up on those little things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't take them very seriously, like the chamber, BNI.
I just
the
knew,
YP.
like I knew from a young age, I think it was my mom or dad, I forget which one, that always told me, like, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Like
It really is.
it is. So like
in
I
a good
need,
way and a bad way
yes,
sometimes. Yeah.
yes, but
Yeah.
like having those connections and knowing people, like I love being that person where like we were joking about this because actually I gave you her number, but Julie Fields, one of my trainers,
Oh.
she was like, I know you know everybody. So do you know anybody who can,
Yeah.
do my landscape?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know anybody
Yeah.
who can fix this? Yes.
Yeah.
She's like, and I love that. I love that. I'm like, yes, let me be the logistics coordinator. So I love making connections. I honestly, I just love people. I love thriving with people. I love helping people. Like if I can help make somebody else's day a little bit better, like that's where I get my self-fulfillment.
Right.
So yeah, I just love connection. I love all of that. And I mean, obviously it's a super positive thing for your business.
Yeah.
But personally, that's personal growth for me is just huge. So
Yeah, and I tell people too, like when people ask, like, do you want to stay in Lima? We actually just for our diaper party, one of the questionnaires, like the guys were filling out, it was if I could live anywhere, where would I live? And I chose Lima.
Yeah.
And like everybody was just like,
oh my God.
why would you want to
Yeah.
stay in Lima? And I'm just like, because I love having the network that I have in Lima.
Yeah.
And it does make business so much easier. But it's just the being able to help people because I know people and being able to help those people and
For sure.
Yeah, that stuff is so huge. And another like saying is the whole, it's not your net worth, it's your network. And it's so freaking true.
Yeah.
Like, cause you
And
can
it's
have
so
all the money.
funny.
If you don't know people and you don't have people around you, like
Yes.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like Brandon and I are so opposites when it comes to like, he is not a people person. He's such an introvert, like wants to stick in his little bubble. And
Yeah.
then like, there's me and I'm like, Facebook, do all these things.
Yeah.
But I really do. I think it's so, it's one thing if you've been like, he's been around a long time, his business has been around a long time. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like quiet, but people know about it. I just knew for me, like not being from here, it was like super crucial, not only for like personally to like grow, but for my business too. So I give all my credit to like the YP, BNI, being in both of those, being part of the chamber.
Who was
and
the
then just
president of
put on
BNI when you were there? I'm curious. I wonder if they're still there.
No, we all graduated. We're so old. I think
Because there's been some people that are there.
Andy
that I know has
Wanamaker,
been-
Andy Wanamaker, and Brian Baker. I think we're both
Andy
presidents.
Wanamaker?
Yeah,
Is he the guy that owns Grizz Cleaning?
yeah.
He just rejoined. Yeah.
No, this is the YP.
Oh, the YP.
Yeah.
I was talking about BNI.
Yeah, BNI.
Gotcha.
Yes. So BNI, gosh, there were so many. Like back in the day, well, it was like one of the Stollies always.
Yeah.
Dennis Rockhold.
Yeah, it's been a really cool
Kelly
group.
Valenti.
It's been a really, really cool group.
Yeah, it's great. So
And it's
getting to know
not-
people
I
is
thought
just
it was
awesome.
very culty when I joined, honestly, because we like stood up and read like the code of ethics, and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, "What is
You're like,
happening?
dun, dun,
Like, this
dun.
is not what I signed up for."
It's so it's hard when you're in it to see like how valuable it is, but like looking back now that I'm out of it, like was in it for 6 years, I'm like literally so many of my contacts and my people and
Yeah.
it's super beneficial. So that was one thing when I was speaking to these college students, I'm like, get involved.
Yeah.
Get involved in anything possible. It's for one, it's really hard to make friends at our age.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, hey, you wanna like be my friend?
Right. You
No,
wanna go
but
hang
like
out?
there's things set up for that, right? Like there's
Yeah.
BNI, there's the YP,
Yeah.
there's the chamber. Like you can make contacts for both your business and for personal. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more because it really is not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. And like sometimes I feel like people probably look at me and think I'm crazy for being involved in all these things and doing all this stuff. But I honestly, it just like that's what propels me forward. Like I love
Well, you've mentioned
doing
personal
that.
growth a few times.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, it's very easy, like you had said in the beginning of the conversation, you were at a job, you were comfortable, you're making good money, right?
Yep.
What is it that, like, what is the reason that you keep doing, like, to go from bodybuilding to owning a gym, to opening a second business, to running the ultra, to running the, you know what I mean, to do these things? What is it that keeps pushing you? Because you said, like, business-wise, you like being able to help other people, but the personal growth side and, like, doing hard shit, what is it that keeps you wanting to do that stuff to grow yourself?
Yeah, like
to
I've
not
thought
get
of it.
comfortable.
So many people ask me that. For one, I think part of it's just like how you're wired. Like there's
Yeah.
some things I just don't have an explanation for. Like I just like to do that. I don't know. It's just who I am, or I don't even know. But I think the other part of it is like I like to show people that it's possible.
Yeah.
Especially now being a mom of 3, like, you know, it's 10 times harder, but I still want people to know like there's still a way that like you can, you know, open a new business, or you can make time to work out, or you can still reach your goals. Like it might make things a little harder. You might have to like juggle. It might look different, right? You might have to juggle some things around, but like I think doing hard shit is one way that I can show people like, hey, it's still possible. Like it's 100% possible to still be able to do it. So I think that's kind of my driving force too, is like to be the example and the leader for people to say like, you can still do this.
Yeah. And that's 100% what it is for me too. That's exactly what it is. Like I don't have like a fitness goal, like necessarily. I don't have like a distance goal. I don't have, you know, like any of those.
You're training for a 100-miler. You do have both of those actually.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I do and I don't, but it's not what's driving me. It's not that I'm like, because in my mind, I'm expecting to be in the best shape of my life before that 100-miler.
Yep.
But that's not the thing that's driving me to do it.
Right.
Like the thing that's driving me to do it is that I want to show somebody that it's possible, Lish specifically, but way more importantly.
Thanks, Lish.
Yeah. way more importantly than that though is like, even just training for like the marathons and other things, I see the trickle down effect that it has. And now like my cousin, for instance, that has like 0, actually Chastity just started training at Anytime.
She did.
Yeah.
She's killing it.
And now,
just re-upped.
And now she's asking me about like, hey, hit me up when you go for runs. Dakota, my business partner, now he started trying to run with me a little bit. The furthest he'd ever ran in his life was like 1.2 miles. Just last week, we ran 5 miles together. And now I got him to sign up for a marathon. I see what I know because I did the marathon and I know what it did for my life and just like what it opened up for me as far as like the mental blocks that I had of just being the person my whole life that's like, I fucking hate running. Like even in sports, right? Like I hated running.
Yeah.
It was the one, like when it was time for cardio, I was just like, kill me. And then I just started doing it and I fell in love with it. But it was more just like, I liked that I was doing something that I knew that I didn't think was possible for me.
Right.
And now like for our business with Dakota, to be able to have somebody that's close to me and that's a partner of mine in a business, push that to him just by the trickle down of me going and do it is so addicting to me.
Yeah. We're wired very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm noticing. I'm noticing.
But I do. I feel like anytime there's a task, I'm like, okay, like my first question is not like, oh, I don't think I can do that. My question is like, oh, how in the hell am I going to do that? Like, I got to figure this out, you know? Right. I probably don't know how to do it, but I'm going to find somebody who does, you know what I mean? Like it's so funny. Everybody like that works for me, they know that there's always an answer. Like somebody comes to my office and they want to sign up for a membership or sign up for personal training. Like I'm not letting them leave without, I will offer them something. I will create something. I don't really care. Like there's something. Like I will find a solution to whatever problem you have, whatever issue you have going on. Like, so I'm just that way. I just like to tackle like.
And you know what I think that is like the problem solving in the business and stuff. It's our competition now. Like, cause to me, like business and like problem solving, it feels like a game to me. Like when I'm doing business, I don't feel like I'm working, I'm doing business. It feels like a game. Like how can I make this piece and that piece fit? And how can I figure out this little problem and put out all the little fires day to day? And like, to me, that's how I get my competition. Cause I'm not necessarily like competing with anybody else that like, I don't want to compete with other general contractors or electronic stores or any of this. I just want to compete with myself and be like, can I really figure all this out? Can I build this crazy company? Can I do this? Can I do a podcast? Can I create cool content? Like, and it's just, that's my competition now because I don't have competitive sports like that to play anymore.
That's so true. I never really looked at it like that. I'm just competing myself at this point.
Yeah.
And I can't beat her.
Yeah. Just kind of how we get our you know, our competition.
It is. It's like my fix.
Yeah.
Like same thing with like running ultramarathons and just things like that. Like when I do hard stuff, like that's my fix. That's my dopamine.
And do you agree? Because I think that literally anybody can do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't think that there's anybody that's not capable of doing a lot of these things. I think that it's 100% just the mental block that they've put on themselves
100%.
that stops them.
Like just training for this ultra marathon, like you can't train for that.
Right.
Like you physically have to be in some decent amount of shape to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are like, well, how do you train for that? I'm like,
That's
right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to be in enough shape that I'm not going to like get a cramp and pass out on the third mile.
Exactly.
But you can't physically train past a certain point. The rest of it's all mental.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same thing with everything else outside of the physical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just doing the hard stuff. Like when you're waking up every day and you're knocking out those hard things on your checklist, it's just callousing your mind and it's just making your mind know, like, we do this regardless. Like they're not going to be hard forever. And then you're just going to get up and you're going to do them.
Yep.
And it's just training and training and training your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ultras, I'm very curious.
Okay.
Because like we said, I signed up for the 100.
Yep.
I have a race in between.
Yep.
I've never taken the nutrition side of it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm guessing you do. I would hope that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you've told me, you're not going to believe how much better these runs feel.
Yeah,
right?
you'll feel so much better.
Yeah. So, I'm curious, as far as like me going through with this next race and all that stuff, what do you think is something that I could like implement during the race? Because I have no idea. Like when I ran my first marathon, it was straight water. I ate like eggs and a bagel in the morning, and then it was all water the whole time.
Yeah.
So what is something that I could try to like implement into my race day plan?
So this is for your 100?
Just the
Or in
100.
general? So I think that
I
you
have,
have to-
I have a full marathon in between.
Okay.
Well, it's a 35 miler is what I'm shooting for because it's a 24-hour race.
Okay.
So-
So you have to approach almost every race differently. Like how I approached my race where I ran 1 mile every hour for 24 hours straight versus my like 50-mile ultra that I just ran. Like depends if you stop or if you don't stop, if you're running the straight, like how long. But I think we tend to overcomplicate things. Like there's like this myth out there, like you need a carb load the night before.
That's
like,
what I'm curious
eat
about.
so many spaghetti noodles.
I see all these people with like carb this, and then in the morning eat this, and then you got to have these gels and this, that, and then salt intake and this and that. And I'm like, it can't be that complicated.
So yeah, they want to overcomplicate things. First off, like anytime you've eaten a huge carb meal, what do you feel like?
I feel like crap.
What do you really feel like doing?
Yeah, sleeping,
Going to
sluggish.
sleep, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to have enough carbohydrates in your system to be able to give you some energy and keep those glycogen stores full, but you don't want to feel like crap. Like we don't want to be falling asleep while we're running.
Right.
So I'm just a big believer in like you just kind of keep your day. I wouldn't go like you smash Los Radas the night before. Like you're gonna feel terrible.
Yeah.
I usually say like stick to some bland foods that aren't gonna like the
Upset your
foods that you
stomach
know
and-
how to eat that like your gut
You know how
likes.
your body's going to react to them.
Yeah, like stick to those. Don't just like go have this random meal with spices and weird stuff.
Right.
And have like a substantial amount of carbs there, like you feel like you're good, but like there's no need to go to like smash noodles and just a bunch of carbohydrates just because you're going to go on a run the next day.
Right.
So that's kind of the night before. During the morning, it just depends on what time you run. Like if you are used to getting up super early in the morning and
I
running,
usually like running fasted.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
and that's how I am. There's nothing worse than like having like food gut when you're trying to run. Like don't smash a bunch of calories, then go out and run.
Yeah.
And again, you have a little bit of glycogen storage yet from the night before, and you can, work through that. So I usually say, hey, if you're going to get up and go run in the morning, when you start to feel depleted, and you can usually start to tell when you start to feel like, okay, now they're starting to deplete
Hit
out.
that little wall, yeah.
Yep. Now
Yeah.
you can either eat something, or you can do a gel, or you can do something like that. You're going to want some kind of substantial food at some point during the day.
Yeah, because that first one that I ran, I hit like mile 18, and like all of my muscles in my legs were just like, it felt like I had stem on them, where they were just cramping and convulsing, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's probably because I didn't take in enough like whatever it is that I needed.
Yes. But I would say more so than the day of, like you're talking weeks of nutrition on point is going to get you to that place.
Well, and that's
right?
what I was wondering.
You
is
can't
like,
eat like crap for 6 months and then go run a race and be like, I'm going to have a banana and a gel and a this and a that. Like, no,
right.
you need to like get your body into this position where you're eating pretty darn good up until then. And it's really the day of is just all about not eating too much. So you're going to feel like crap,
Right.
but eating enough that you have, you know, some good sugary carbohydrates for energy. Personally, I'm a big fan of like, you know, like when I just ran my ultra, I would like have a banana and then I ran a little bit and then I had a few Sour Patch Kids and then I ran for a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, now I have a break. I think I might have maybe I'll have like a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
Couple pickles.
Right.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
My gut can handle that. It's enough energy that I can get me through. And I would just kind of snack a little bit between just like that.
Now, is that knowing that that's my goal? Is that our plan with Diet Doc?
Mm-hmm.
So like even that, like you guys can kind of tailor to, you know, like this is his goal in X amount of weeks. Let's try to build up to it.
Yes. But in general, like I was saying, so many people focus more about the night before and the day of, and they're all concerned about that. But it's like the whole reason you're getting your body in shape for this race is so you don't get injured and so you can finish the race, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So that, nutritionally speaking, that's also plays a role here. Like you can't just eat like crap for 6 months and then be like the day before, like I was saying, like just like now I'm gonna eat really clean and then have a banana tomorrow. Like no, like it's weeks of feeling good. If you've ever like had a week of vacation and then you had some drinks and you ate like crap and then you like how it takes you a few days and you feel like pretty sluggish and you feel pretty terrible.
Yeah.
It's really no different.
Well, and is there, so I'm curious then, because it sounds like, I mean, I'm sure obviously Diet Doc has helped you with like the food knowledge, but you've mentioned a couple different races. So when is it that you started like being interested in like ultra? When was your first like actual ultra? Because ultra is just considered anything over a marathon, I believe, right?
Yeah, anything just crazy wild. Like, I think I ran my first half marathon, and it was I did one in Columbus, and then I was miserable. I realized like how out of shape I was. Like I didn't train properly.
Did you like running before that?
No.
So what made you sign up for it?
I think one of my girlfriends was just like, hey, I think you get wine to the finish line. You want to do this thing? I'm like, sure. And she was one of my girlfriends that I competed with.
Yeah.
And so we're like, sure, why not? Well, we both did awful. We couldn't walk for like 3 days. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like I need to train properly and do it. So I did my second half.
So you've seen a problem and you had to solve it. Gotcha.
Exactly. And so then I ran the Nationwide Children's in Columbus, which was an amazing race.
Full marathon.
I ran the half.
Gotcha.
You know what's crazy? I've never ran a full marathon.
Really?
I have no interest.
Just skipped over it.
I just skipped over it. I'm like, I'll run 33 miles, but I will not run 26. Yeah. That's just crazy. People do that.
Right.
So I actually did, half marathons, maybe a couple 10Ks, and then I started doing the Key West, the ultras. So it's a team of 6 running 100. Then like this year we did the 50 miler with 2 of us.
So I'm curious because what literally changed my life, because it changed my mindset on just a lot of different things, was that my really, really low point in that first marathon. And what happened was I signed up for a half marathon, and the day before, because I'm that person that like, for whatever reason, you know how we said it's a blessing and it's a curse. I just told Lish, I was like, I just feel like I'm going to cheat myself if I don't do the full thing. And she's like, why? So it was supposed to be a full marathon. Like 3 or 4 days before, they canceled the full and made it only a half. So I was like, well, I'm just going to park my truck at the start line, so I have to run back. And she was do not fucking do that. Like, that's stupid. Well, I'd never ran a race like that before. So I get to the half point and I'm like feeling great. Because at that point I'd ran like 13 miles on a treadmill before and I felt pretty good. I'm feeling great. I grabbed a bottle of water. I start running back. Well, then the water stations start closing. So I'm passing everybody coming back, and I'm feeling good because people are like, hell yeah, dude, keep going. Well, I get to this water station and the girls are like, we're the last and this is like 16 miles in or something like that. They're like, we're the last water station. And I was like, oh shit. So I have no water. At one point I'm in the middle of the country, because this is in like Salina, St. Mary's. I'm in the middle of the country and I'm just in miserable pain. This is like 18 miles in when my legs are just, I would walk and then as soon as I'd start running, they'd just cramp up. But it was the first time I ever got that real runner's high, to where I seriously just felt like euphoric. And I was like, oh my God.
You're like I get it now.
Yes. And it hit me that I was just like, I'm fucking out here doing some seriously hard stuff and I'm still moving forward. Like my legs literally are cramping and I'm still running. So I'm curious if you've had any like really low points or like really hard things happen in those ultras. And if you can talk about them a little bit. Yeah.
So in December, I ran my first 50K.
Okay.
And Brenna came and
yeah, that's the one that we were supposed to run together. And me and Lish got sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I called Brenna like
we
2 hours.
We need to reschedule something together, by the way.
We do.
Yeah.
But shout out to her because I called her like 3 hours before I left the airport and was like, hey, you want to go to Florida and be my driver?
Crew, yeah.
And she said, sure. So I picked her up. And the sweet guy behind the counter talked us into, actually, I'll take full credit. I shouldn't say we. He talked me into upgrading to an electric car. And he's like, oh, you don't have to pay for gas. I'm like, oh, this would be great. So we got an electric car. And long story short, it died 2 miles from the starting line. And so her and I had to basically get it towed to a charging station. Like, I thought they just made these things and they were everywhere. And they're never, like, there was none.
Yeah.
So long story short, I actually hitchhiked to the starting line. So a gentleman took me to the starting line. Thank God he took me to the starting line. And yeah, so I hitchhiked the starting line. I got there, I think, with 90 seconds to spare. All morning we were messing around with this car. So I got there like 90 seconds to spare before the race started. Oh, wow. And I had one water on my belt. And
God, because Brenna had all the...
Because she had all my stuff in the car, in the dead car, back at the charging station. So I ran, actually we got lost because we had to like bypass a parade. So I ran 30 miles straight before I found her. She found me. So she finally like charged up enough, took it to a place, got a new car, came and got me.
Yeah.
But talk about a low point in your life. You know, I'm all alone. My phone's dead. I'm just running on A1A through Daytona Beach. I had one water and a protein bar in my little baggie that I had early on. I bummed one water off a homeless guy. I was like, bro, I looked at him like, I don't know. I think I need it more than you do.
I need this more than you
He like
do.
looked at me and I'm like, please. So I bummed a water off of him. So I had 2 waters.
See, what a good person though.
And 30 miles. And I'm like, I looked at him like, you know, I need this more than you do. Yeah, so I bummed 2 waters and had a protein bar with no socks, no shoes, change, nothing. I ran 30 miles straight. So like
if you're willing to talk about it, like what type of stuff was going through your head?
Have you ever hung out with yourself for 30 miles straight? Yeah. Like no music.
Not 30.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't want my phone, like my phone was about dead and I just knew that like it was not going to be alive by the time, and I needed to get a hold of her. And I'm on like mile 14, like screaming at Alamo, like, why would you give us this car? And I'm like arguing with these people as I'm running, you know, I'm like, whatever. So that was the first time I like really truly hung out with myself for that long and just my thoughts and
just being in the suffering, the
holy emotional roller coaster. Like, you know, there was some miles where I was like, I felt like anything was an edge for me. Like,
as far as like your self-talk, you mean?
Yes, like I was just like trying to be like super positive and like you know, I'm like just talking to myself and I'm just like, you can do this, like you're crazy and this, you know, whatever, just keep going. And then there'd be like a low point where I'm like, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, just quit. Like I want to just stop. Like, nope. And then, you know, my other side of my shoulder would be like, you can do this, you can go. Yeah. And then like little things I would try to find to keep me going. Like when the guy gave me a water bottle, like I chugged so fast this water and then I was just like, all right, I'm ready. Like I can run 10 more miles. Let's go. You know, I had one water. The sky was super nice. Or, you know, I'd pass somebody and they would be like, well, keep going. And I'm like, all right, I'm taking that as fuel. Put it in there. Let's go, you know. Yeah. But hanging out with yourself for that long, like, and just, like, knowing that you're screwed, kind of. Yeah. Like I got no car, I got no shoes, I got no socks, no food, no nothing. Like, I have no option but just to keep going, you know. Right. And I just always think of people, like, who don't have, like, I'm always just thankful. Like, there's people that can't run. There's people who don't have legs to run. There's people that, like, aren't even able to do the things that I'm doing right now. So like, let's just chalk this up as being grateful and just keep running. Yeah. You know, those thoughts would ebb and flow. I would like think that way and I'm like, I got this. And then like another thought would come in and I'm just like, no, you know, but it's a mental head game. But when you accomplish something hard like that, I mean, it's like the best feeling ever.
It makes all the other things that you think are hard seem so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like there's times that I definitely run into something with like my business that I'm just like, dude, this is nothing compared to like some of the hard things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those really, really hard things. It just makes the other stuff seem so much easier.
Yeah, and then you kind of feel silly when you're like, really, this is what I'm thinking. This is hard. Like, no, there's people that have it way worse than I do. Like I'm complaining about me running something that I signed up for and paid for.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. I love when people always have the signs
Yeah,
like,
like,
you paid for this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, no, there's a lot of people going through way worse things than I am.
Well,
so.
do you listen to David Goggins at all? Or like,
I do.
So in his cookie jar, like, I don't know if you know, like his reference to the cookie jar, it's so freaking true. And there's a lot, like, I don't know if you had like, because another thing that we seen on a Tom Bilyeu was about like high achieving people and the correlation between high achieving people and going through childhood trauma, and that it's like, I don't want to misquote it, but it's like over 95% of high achieving people have went through some sort of childhood trauma, whether that's like divorce. And they're saying it doesn't have to be like so like horrific as far as like molestation or something like that, but just like divorce, loss of a family member, you know, like death of a pet, just something really dramatic or traumatizing. And that usually 90% of those high achievers have went through that stuff. I'm curious because it sounds like you had a pretty good upbringing.
Yeah.
Do you have like things like that you keep in the cookie jar? Because to me, like that's what's in my cookie jar, you know, is like those really rough things. And I think about that and I'm just like, you know, then you start telling yourself like, you're a fucking beast, dude. Like you got this, you know, like you made it through this stuff. You made it through that stuff. Like this is nothing. You're running. You're literally just running and you signed up to do it.
Yeah. So my parents got divorced when I was 5. And they both got remarried when I was 6. I think I was too young to really know at the time what was going on.
Yeah.
But like the years after that were tough, you know, like anybody who has divorced parents and you're going back and forth and just, you know, you have different lifestyles at each parent. You've had to like kind of adapt. And there's six of us. I'm right in the middle.
Yeah, I feel like my son has to play like 2 different personalities sometimes almost because you're living 2 different lives.
And then, you know, just like growing up with like brothers and sisters at one house and kind of knowing the other and like adapting. So like you're just constantly kind of in an emotional, mental state of trying to figure out who you are while you're 2 different people at 2 different places.
100%.
And then when I was 7, my house actually burnt down. So we lost our house in a house fire. So I was inside with 2 of my girlfriends. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. But anyway, just that was a huge traumatic event that happened in my life. Like looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I like, how did I turn out like okay?
Yeah.
You know, like that was huge. Like I remember like the running out to the road and like waving down. Because at that time there's no cell phones, like waving down somebody on the road and they had to like drive to their house and call 911 and like just sitting there at 7 years old, like watching my entire house like go up into flames. Like,
I couldn't imagine. My son is 7. Yeah, I
everything.
Imagine
like
that.
I had the clothes on me and that was it. You know, like just watching everything like go to shit, you know. Yeah. And having to like start over, like move into an apartment, go buy clothes, like just pretty traumatic event that happened. So I think like those 2 things, like I look at, I'm like, damn, like that was sort of like kind of back to back.
Yeah.
And I had a great childhood. Honestly, like some people are like, oh, you know, you came from a divorced family, and I'm like, I
had 4 Christmases. Yeah.
I have 4 parents, and they both love each other.
I had double birthdays every year.
Like I had a great childhood. I mean, I thought it was great. Like, I think it was like 5 years ago. My mom told me, she was like, did you know that, you remember when we used to go camping all the time out in the backyard? And I'm like, yeah, it was like the best childhood memory ever. And she's like, do you know it was because I couldn't afford the electric bill? And I'm like, nope.
Isn't it amazing though what parents can do?
And I'm like, that was like the highlight of my weekend, you know, going to my mom's. We got to camp in the backyard, you know, and she told me that. And I was like, wow, like you never like once, you know, I knew we struggled a little bit, but I never realized it was that bad. Like, you know, in my eyes, I had a great childhood, but at the same time, like, yeah, I'm sure there was things.
You see what your parents want you to see though.
Yeah. So for me, it was hard because I was like, you know, I had like, you know, my mom and my stepdad and my dad and my stepmom and living in 2 different kind of worlds. And so I think like I'm not sitting here having like a poo-poo party for myself because like now we're reflecting on it and you're talking about it and everything else. Yeah. But
and it's just another one of those things that just builds you into to who you are.
Yeah, I definitely like look back and I'm like, wow, like, I am pretty proud of where I came from and the things that, you know.
Yeah, I honestly think it makes you even more proud of a person. And like, I think it puts such a hard foundation under you because like it's your legacy, right? Like it builds that huge foundation that you're just like, I can't ever go backwards. Like, I have a hard bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. And are those things like things that you feel like stay in your cookie jar? Like, are they motivators for you in different aspects of your life? Or
I think so.
Are they things that you've just kind of just been done and moved on and just like it happened and I'm over it? And
no, I mean, I definitely think about like the past and things, but what I've came to realize too is like nobody, you know, because sometimes you look at your family and you're like, okay, am I the one with the screwed up family?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like here I am. I have 2 moms, 2 dads. We have 6
Yeah.
brothers and sisters, and there's drama sometimes, and you know, and you know, like especially when I first met like my husband, you know, and his family and everything. I'm like, wow, like perfect families do exist, and then I come to realize like nobody's perfect.
Right.
Like, so everybody has like that cookie jar and different things that make them who they are. Whether you come from like the perfect family on the outside, the inside doesn't matter.
And hard looks hard to different people.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Like I look back and again, like I'm like, no, I thought my childhood was fantastic. I look back now, I'm like, ooh, like.
And there's people that would look at like the bad parts of your childhood or your life and be like, God, I wish that was my bad parts. Like my bad parts are so much worse than that.
Right. Yeah. So I think it is a driving force a little bit, just because I'm like, you know, I think you see things like in your parents or maybe the way they parented or the way that they like brought you up that are like great, and you want to keep those like for your children.
Right.
And then there's also things that you learn from them, and you're like, I don't want to be like that. I want to do these things and these things. And
yeah, and that's exactly what like the name building legacy, and that's exactly what it's about. Is I want to talk to people like you. I want to talk to other people that are just not when I say high achieving, it doesn't mean like high achieving money or success. It's just high achieving as far as like want to keep pushing themselves to be better, because to me that's what building legacy is. It's like I want to take the base that where my mom left off, and instead of like doing some of the things wrong and like taking a step backwards, you know what I mean? I want to keep building a solid foundation so then my kids don't ever have to take that step back and deal with those things that, even though she was providing a great life in her eyes because her hard was way harder than my hards. But that's what that whole building legacy thing is about. And I'm curious then, as far as like why you do what you do. Do you want your kids to like be interested in what you do? Do you want them to like follow in your legacy, or are you okay with them just being like doing their own thing and having nothing to do with it?
I'm just a big believer in like I want my kids to be exactly who they want to be, and I'll support them in that 100%. I think so many parents put their kids in a box of like what they want them to be or what them to dress like or what them to look like or whatever, you know, like I want them to do whatever that they want to do and whatever makes them happy, because I truly believe like you're called to do something and you need to fulfill that, and not everybody can understand, and that's okay. Even parents, like, trust me, I have to bite my tongue sometimes when my daughter's like, can I wear this today? And I'm like, ugh, sure. Be you, baby, be you. Like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, every parent's going to judge me today. But I really believe that like the only way to have a really good, true relationship with your children is for them to see like I'm doing what I'm called to do and who I want to be, and I want them to be that exact same way.
Right.
If that's taking over one of our businesses, great. If it's having nothing to do with either one of us, then, you know, great. Like that's what they.
And that legacy doesn't have to be an Anytime Fitness owner, right? It could just be like your mom was this type of person, and I just hope that like you set a good enough foundation that they just want to be that type of person.
Exactly.
Last question for you.
Okay.
On that note of building legacy, because with the whole childhood trauma correlation, right? Knowing that 90 some odd % of high achievers went through some type of childhood trauma, are you okay with your children not being high achievers? Or are you, because in a sense, then you would have to be okay with them going through some sort of childhood trauma. And like for me, it would be hard to watch my children go through trauma knowing that it's going to be the better thing for them, right, in the long run. Or do I keep the trauma away from them, but know that they're most likely not going to be a high achiever?
So I think that's a very tough question, first off.
Yeah.
Especially when you put in perspective like your own children.
Right.
But I think it goes back to 2 things. One, I'm not faulting my parents for like when I say trauma, like it's nothing like terrible that like
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So
no,
like
I agree. Yeah.
My kids are probably going through trauma right now that I'm creating that I don't even like realize it, right? Like
because everybody's trauma is different.
Yeah, and it's nothing necessarily like bad that my parents did or didn't do that created that. So I think it's kind of naive for me as a parent to be like, well, my kids will have no trauma their whole life. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm sure they are going through some right now. There's something
Yeah.
that we're doing that's creating it, right? So I think that they'll be high achievers because of that.
Yeah, because honestly, it could even just be the fact of the work-life balance, right? Like it might seem balanced to you, but in your kids' eyes, it might be like, well, my parents worked all the time.
Yeah.
And that could be their.
Yeah, right.
know.
So there is some trauma that they're going to be going
Right.
through. But too, I also think that like not everybody is wired like you or I or
Right.
those people either. And that's okay. We can't all be leaders.
Yeah.
We need followers too, right?
100%.
Like, and I'm not saying that to be like, that is
There's
humbly speaking.
100%. And I think that people get the whole leader and follower and employer-employee relationship as like this, and it's not. It's
No.
like so much. It's on a completely even keel in my eyes too, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And so I feel like there's some people that are just called to do those things.
Yeah.
And if that's where my kids want to end up, then absolutely 100% support them. We need people like that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, like I
everybody
would
is-
consider myself a leader, but leading by yourself does nothing. It
Right.
creates zero impact. When you're leading and you're leading good to where people want to follow you and you have people following you, then you're going to actually create some type of impact.
Right. So if they end up in that position where they're like, hey, I don't necessarily want to be a leader in this aspect of
Yeah.
building legacy in this way,
Right.
then like, great, go be a follower to somebody else who's a leader.
Yeah.
And we need people just like that too.
100%. Well, awesome. Yeah, I really, really
I
appreciate
feel like
you
I
coming
could talk
on.
for hours.
I know. Cam gave me the time signal, and I was just
Cam
like,
saw where you're
God,
taking
that
a
was really
nap."
fast. Yeah. Well, no, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yes,
There's a
thanks for
couple other
having me.
things that I wanted to talk to you about that we didn't get time for, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Tons of good information, and it like definitely, obviously helped me know you a lot better.
Yeah.
I agree that I think we're wired pretty similar.
Yep.
And we will definitely schedule another run together.
'Kay,
And hopefully
deal.
me and Lish aren't throwing up in
Oh,
the bathroom
gosh.
the day before or the morning of even. And yeah, and I really, really appreciate just everything that you're doing in the community, the fact that you're like pushing people and that you're helping me. We just really appreciate it, and we wish you all the best.
First podcast drop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for
Exciting.
having me. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Lexa.